and welcome to The Line. It's Cause I Wanna. It's Cause I Wanna Day. We've been doing more and more of these, and we'll continue to do more and more of these until the election occurs. We are here to talk about politics. We're here to take your calls to discuss why you're voting for the fascist cult leader, Donald Trump. We're here to talk about why you want somebody like that in charge of the country. And of course, we're going to continue to take the same calls we always do. If you're a theist, if you're a creationist, if you're a transphobe, if you have a problem with pronouns, if you have an issue with the liberty that comes with not being religious, if you have any of those issues, you can still call in. We'll talk about it, same as always. But mostly for these particular shows, up until we get to election time, we want to talk about the politics of this country and why we here on this channel strongly encourage you to vote for Harrison Walz, and try. Unfortunately, we have to say it. We have to say it every damn election cycle. Why you have to help save democracy, because that's where we have remained for the past 8 damn years, just right there on that edge. It sucks. And I'm joined today by the lovely and handsome Owen Morgan. Owen, how are you doing today?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah. I really appreciate you being here. This is the first time you and I have gotten to work together, and we've been hanging out in the backstage, talking and everything like that. I've learned some really cool things about you. I had no idea that you could jump that high. I had no idea that you fought that many stingrays in your life. It's really incredible, what you've been through, and I think it's great.
Not tell anybody that.
Oh, sorry. I apologize. Not trying to give anything away. I do want to say, though, you just finished working on a book, you said, about religion and World War II. What's going on with that?
Yes. Oh my God. It's not actually released yet. I'm still editing. I just made the cover for it just like earlier today. But yeah, it's started because I hear people all the time on Twitter talking about how Hitler is like an atheist and he did all of his stuff for atheistic reasons, you know, because he hates Christians. The Christians in Germany were like the good guys and all that. So I wanted to find out if that's real, because I got a bunch of quotes from Hitler, like from Mein Kampf, of him talking positively about Christianity. And then I get some quotes from him talking negatively about it. So I wanted to know the answer. And I wrote this entire gigantic book about it. Not gigantic. It's like 200 pages. So yeah.
That is
everything about religion in World War. Yeah.
Right on. Well, we talk about Trump. We draw comparisons to fascists and Nazis all over the place. And I'm very confident in saying that Trump himself is fascistic. I don't think that he has the comprehension on like how to be a fascist. I don't think he's smart enough for that. But because he behaves like a toddler, he's a fascist. The things that he does inevitably, innately, inherently become fascistic. So like, I'm sure we can pull some tie over there. If you're watching this right now and you're like, these liberals and leftists and people always talking about fascism and Nazism and all, it's just this buzzword. Call in. We'll defend it. Also, third-party voters. If you're voting Jill Stein, talk to us. We'll tell you why you shouldn't do that. If you think that this is the time to have the protest vote, to really stick it to the man and show everybody who's the blah, 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 call in. We will happily disabuse you of these notions. I can see in the chat poll that we've had up for a little while, 3% of all viewers, which is to say 3% of the entire world, says that they're voting for Trump, and 5% says that they are not voting or they are voting third party. So that's 8% of the planet, because everybody watches this show. 8% of the planet that should be calling in. That's millions. That's hundreds of millions of people that need to call in and let us know.
Yeah, we only have one call screener though, so.
So take your time. Lines are open. We have a couple lines left. They're filling up fast. We still have a couple of lines here. 720-619-2288 is your chance to call in and tell us what you believe and why, what's going on with you. To the person in the chat who just got muted for saying Trump 2024, this is your chance. You can continue to scream into the void in a random chat and get muted, or you can call in and defend your beliefs, defend your ideas. But we're going to start off with Michael, pronouns he, him, calling in from Clocking Anus. That's so stupid. It says that Donald Trump is a cult leader. doesn't think Donald Trump is a cult leader, but probably is a fascist. So that's what's written here. So we're going to defend this reason why we say that MAGA is a cult and he is a leader of it. Michael, you are on the line with Owen and Forrest. How are you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going really well. I want you to know that I really, really tried to come up with any other A word besides anus, and my mind shut down on anus. And so, like, I'm sure by the end of this, clacking aardvarks or cackling armadillos or like anything else, but just anus is just what's locked in my brain, dude. Apples would have been fine. Clammy apples, that would have been a great one, but I just can't get off the anus. Michael,
well, hey, A is for apple. Hey, I'm a fan of both.
A is for anus. You're saying that you agree with us that he probably is a fascist, but you have an issue with the cult leader title. What's your issue with that? Like, what's driving you? Why do you agree?
I absolutely agree with you that it's a fascistic organization that Trump set up in after his 2016 election. And I'm not a fan of fascism. Let me just put that out just free and clear up front. But I don't think his support is cult-like. When I think of cults, I think of like David Koresh. I think of Branch Davidians and stuff, and doesn't seem. Or I think of Christianity. It seems like a death cult to me. At least that's how I take the term. Maybe I'm misunderstanding how you're meaning it, or maybe I'm misunderstanding how you're using it. I don't know, but I'd like to hear your explanation. I was not able to listen to the first part of the show because I was on hold, and
it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, play the show yet.
No, I appreciate you not having the show running in the background when you pick up the phone. Like that's huge for me. No, you haven't missed anything. You are the first caller, and like it. So I have a few things that I would throw out there, but Owen, I want to hear from you first. What do you think? Like, what's on your mind?
Okay. Well, I guess it depends on how you define cult. If anybody knows me, they know
that's my point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you would pause there. There's a little bit of a delay. I'm sorry.
Oh no sweat. Sure. That's fine. So anyway, it depends on how it's defined. I would say, all right. So I wrote this model forever ago where there's the BITE model, which was created by Stephen Hassan, and that's designed to kind of categorize cults that are like David Koresh or Jonestown or whatever else, right? But in my model, I created 3 different types of cults, one of which is the David Koresh cult, that style. That was tier 3, I believe. Tier 1 cults in my model were, oh my God, it's been forever since I've seen the model, but tier 2 is the important part. It's kind of a parasocial cult where there's a leader over top of everything that doesn't communicate with the people very much, not like a back and forth, but the people get all of their news from the leader. And they get all of their, they'll do anything for him. They will literally die for him. I would argue that maybe not in the traditional sense he is a cult leader, but I would go even further and say, even in the traditional Jonestown style sense, he is a cult leader. I mean, they're not preparing to check out or anything as far as we know, but I believe that he would be willing to take that extra step, and those people would be willing to take that step. They would be willing to do something psychotic, anything psychotic, to further his goals. So I would argue that he is a cult leader in every sense of the word for that reason.
Okay.
Yeah, similarly to how I opened the.
Sorry.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Respond to Owen first. You're right. I apologize.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So to that, I have 2 arguments. Number one, I think you said that that a cult leader would communicate under much. I think Donald Trump communicates over much. I don't think anyone has a disagreement with that.
I mean, communicating directly with the cult, like that, not a parasocial relationship, but like a direct communication. The opposite of parasocial. What the hell is that? called? I don't know what that term is.
Intersocial, I think.
Okay, that works. Yeah, he's not doing that with them because he's too big, But yeah, go on.
No,
Sorry.
it's through X and it's through Twitter before that. Yeah, no, I totally understand. So I will rescind that point. But second, I don't know that they do anything for him. They would commit violence because they have. Just look at January 6th. But I don't know that they would do anything. That's my second point. I don't know that it's a cult in the way that, the Branch Davidians was a cult.
Okay. The Branch Davidians were, you know what? You go ahead, Forrest. Tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Oh, it's fine. It's just that my biggest issue is similar to what I said at the beginning of the show and what Michael did not hear me say, is that I was talking about Trump being a fascist, and I was saying I don't think he's smart enough to deliberately be a fascist. I think just by the very nature of his behaviors, because he is so childlike, he's going to throw tantrums and he's going to demand ultimate power and he's going to get rid of anybody who disagrees with him and he's going to make sure that the government can't question him and all the things that he's been saying, especially the past couple of weeks about how there's internal enemies within, all these leftists need to be expelled and all this stuff. That is fascistic in its very nature. And so while I don't think that he is sitting here brooding and figuring out how to be a good leader, and that's coming up with fascism, he's completely self-serving. It just happens to be fascism. Similarly, I don't think he's intelligent enough to sit down and formulate a cult. And I don't think it's fair to say that he is deliberately leading people this way or that way towards his goals. When I talk about him being a cult leader, it's kind of reflexive. I think the MAGA movement around him is a cult. The people who refuse to acknowledge or accept the things that he says with his own mouth. He didn't actually say that. Well, then he didn't actually mean it that way. Okay, well, he did mean it that way. Well, then that means it's something that you don't understand. It's actually not as bad as it. He was joking. It was something else. Well, the Democrats have also said these things, so it's okay that he said that thing. All these reasons and excuses that people make for getting around just how fundamentally shitty of a person this guy is. That is a cult. And it just so happens that he's at the front of it. So to call him a cult leader is not a sign of any form of respecting his position in this situation. It's just to say that there is a cult surrounding him specifically. And anything that he does is automatically going to be taken as true and correct and right and moral and good for America. So that's kind of my angle on it. That's where I'm coming from, is that it's very clear if you watch channels like The Good Liars, for example, which of course they're going to be, you take it with a grain of salt because they are looking for good content. But these are people who go out, Good Liars and Walter Masterson are great examples of people who go out to these Trump rallies and just ask people, what's an example of a good thing that Trump has done that you like? And they got nothing. Why don't you like Harris? Oh, Harris is this evil, terrible communist. So can you define any of those terms? No. Can you define? Okay, so what about the immigrants? Do you think that we should allow in an immigrant if they're a sex offender or a sexual abuser, somebody who's been convicted of rape and fraud and all sorts of crimes and has a bunch of felony convictions? Do you think we should let that immigrants in? No, we should kick those immigrants out. Okay, but what about when they want to run the country? Should we let somebody with a bunch of felony convictions and a bunch of rape allegations and one's found guilty of rape as well? Do you think that we should allow that person to run the country? Well, that's rigged. It's rigged. It's all a lie. It's all a scam. It's all a witch hunt. Everything is rigged as long as it's against Trump. So that's what I'm talking about, is when you have these people who are very clearly willing to sacrifice their credulity and their morals in order to prop up this madman. That's the cult that I'm talking about, and he is de facto the leader of that cult. That's my angle on it. That's what I'm getting at. Nothing nearly as nuanced or interesting or cool as what Owen is talking about over here. I'm just talking about the way that the fans behave.
Yeah, and spending themselves into the ground too,
yes,
until they're impoverished.
Yeah. That is one thing. That's a very good point. I'm glad you bring that up because, I think a great indication of why this is a cult is the fact that the dude sells imaginary baseball cards with pictures of him as a fireman and a soldier and all the things that he isn't actually cool enough to be. The fact that this guy sells Bibles with his name printed in them. The fact that this guy sells golden mugs and flags and T-shirts and hats and all these things, which, any political candidate is going to sell stuff like that a little bit. But the fact that this guy sells all these things and makes his followers. This is their whole personality. You know what I mean? That's what's so frustrating. That's the cult-like behavior we're talking about.
I think that's a bit of poisoning the well by calling them followers. Again, I'm a Harris supporter.
What else would you call them?
I'm not. Yeah.
What else would you call them?
We've called them deplorables. We've called them MAGA people. We've called them a lot of things.
Sure, I think followers is the most benign and reasonable and respectable thing to call them.
Well, I
don't think it's poisoning the well to say that they're
supporters. Okay, supporters.
Followers implies some sort of like religious devotion. I think you're poisoning the well there.
Well, I mean, we're not poisoning the well, I don't think, because we're all on the same page with the debate already. So,
mm-hmm.
The three of us are. The three of us are certainly. The three of us are. I think that they are. I mean, let's just go back to deplorables. I guess it seems like
that
you're not winning friends, you're making enemies.
You think calling them deplorables is going to make more friends?
No, I was kidding with that. Sorry if that.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought you were serious.
I was trying to make a joke there, but I was trying to make a joke. There. If that didn't come across, I'm sorry. But
no, it's just fine.
Say again. Sorry. What?
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. I misunderstood. Go on.
Yeah. So I agree with a lot of what you've said. But calling him a cult leader, you're referring to the adherents of a cult rather than the leader of the cult. I think that's unfair.
Okay, here, I can respond to that. I mean,
yeah,
it operates in the exact same way that a cult does, in every single way, except he is not in direct. There isn't a back and forth between him and the adherents. Like with Jim Jones, for example, they lived in a community and there was a back and forth. But he still imposes.
He also gave them all flavor aid, and I don't think Donald Trump's given anybody flavor aid. We're insulting the man's lack of intelligence, which I would agree. He doesn't seem like a very intelligent man, but this is not a Jim Jones style cult.
It doesn't have to. I mean, it doesn't have to commit mass suicide to be a cult. Like, they don't all do that, of course, right?
That's my biggest thing. Is that, like, I think you're drawing this weird line that doesn't need to be drawn. When to say, like, well, in order to be a cult, they have to behave this exact way, and like, there are criteria, but I think they've met the actual criteria, and you're looking for like really extreme criteria that just is not reasonable to stretch that. But again, at the end of the day, it's just us calling it like we sees it in terms of our opinion of the behavior of these people. So like, it's not something that's worth sticking too much into. At the end of the day, the fact of the matter is the dude's a fascist and an absolute megalomaniacal loser. And doesn't deserve to run a country or even a company, in my opinion, as has been shown by the many, many, many bankruptcies under his belt. So as far as this conversation is concerned, I think that we can agree to disagree on whether or not you think that this qualifies as a cult. But for sure, that's what I would call it. And I think if you look at the behavior of these people that show up to his rallies and literally just watch the man do this little dance for 30 minutes because he has nothing of substance to actually offer, and they sit and watch that and still call this productive policy and productive politicking, I'm going to call that a cult, because that's how cults behave, is that this man can do no wrong. This man is always right. There's nothing this dude could ever do to change my mind. Like that is what they are doing and what they are saying. I encourage you to look up any one of the millions of videos out there of people telling Trump supporters that he said something horrific, whether or not it is something he actually said, just to gauge their response. And they always fall back on, I'm still supporting him anyway. It's a cult, dude. That's the way they behave, is cult-like behavior. Anybody who flies a flag with somebody's face on it, and that face is photoshopped onto a big buff Rambo dude, and they fly that flag in earnest, I'm going to call that a little bit culty. And whoever is in the leader of that whole situation, I'm going to call that person a cult leader. Anyway, it's been about 15 minutes, Michael. We got to move on to the next call, but I appreciate you talking to us. All right.
Completely understand. Thank you, Forrest. And thank you. I don't know the other co-host.
Owen Morgan. Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
Owen Morgan.
Yeah, I didn't know your name. Thank you, Morgan.
Bye-bye. The Owenest Morgan of them all. We've got a new line open because that line just dropped. So lines were full, but now we just opened up a new one. So especially like if you're going to call in, if you're a Trump supporter or if you're a third-party voter, this is your chance. Numbers are on the bottom of the screen, 720-619-2288, or use the link in the description if you want to call in over them internets. This is your chance to talk to us. We're going to go a little bit further into definitions for just a second. Because we got Kevin, right on See Him, calling in all the way from Japan. Dude stayed up real late for the show. Who is talking about something that I said recently, probably talking about Gaza because of what this is about. Says, is it useful to refer to organizations like Hamas or Hezbollah as terrorists? Yes. We're going to talk to Kevin to see really quick why that might not be a good thing in his opinion. Kevin, you're on the line with Owen and Forrest. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. And yeah, it's actually like 8 a.m. my time, so woke up early for it.
Hey, your microphone is crackling really bad. Am I on speakerphone or something?
Okay. You're on my headphones. Give me just a second. I'll switch to the phone itself.
Yes, please. Okay. Ooh. Slapping my
Hello, can you hear me?
Is
that better?
I can hear you. That is a little bit better. Yeah, just back up from the mic a little bit and you're good to go.
Okay. Is this better?
So much better. So much better.
Okay.
So why are you just asking if it's useful? Do you have a reason to say that it's not useful? Because I can tell you all the reasons why it is useful.
I had listening to one of your conversations last week, it just kind of sparked a thought in my head. So if I can just go through it for a second. First, I want to say my definition of terrorism would be violence committed against non-combatants for the purpose of spurring political action. I think
exactly like what Hamas and Hezbollah do. Yep. Exactly like what Hamas and Hezbollah do. Yeah.
I would say that like October 7th, these are things that I would agree are terrorist acts. However, where I get into my question comes in with two things. One, I think how it's used more in especially Western media at this point is here's a group that Western democracies don't like. And that same definition would apply to, for example, Israel sending pagers to Lebanon.
And should.
Though I think
it should.
It should. I agree.
Yes.
It's not, but it's not how it's used in modern media. My other issue though is,
and that is its own problem. So yes, it is useful to call these people terrorists because they are, and it is useful to call what they do terrorism because it is. And yes, there is an issue with media bias and with them not with them having a completely different. It's the exact same thing that we see here in America when if a white person or a black person commits the same crime or is on trial or is attacked by a police officer, you'll notice very different ways they talk about it and defend it and everything. It works the same way when it's the country that we like committing terroristic acts or the people fighting against them committing this similar terroristic acts. We have different language on them. And it also stands to reason that Gandhi and MLK were called terrorists. And so, it is just the word that we use for people they don't like. However, words still matter. And there's way too much talk. For as much as I speak out against the genocide in Palestine, there is still way too much talk from people on my side trying to paint Hamas as, moral freedom fighters. They are terrorists. And that's an unacceptable thing to say. Drawing sympathy for Palestinians and saying that they deserve to fight for their freedom, abso-fucking-lutely. Saying that they deserve to stand up to an oppressive power, absolutely. Saying that they need to stand up against their occupiers, absolutely. Then taking the stretch and saying, and therefore terrorism's cool if they do it. No, it is not.
I don't think it's cool. I guess my next question is where I'm. The other issue that kind of stuck in my head was, so I'm a Black American. And I thought I agree. I agree that people like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, these are groups that are committing violence to try to make a political point. But then I think to something like Nat Turner in the U.S. Leads a slave revolt, kills men, women, children in their beds. And I think if I was in that context, if I wasn't a slave or a black person in America at that time, yeah, I definitely would have called that terrorism. It is. But if I was a slave at that time, would I understand that perspective a lot better? And at which point, not saying that it's right to do, but do I understand why that is the position they're in at this point? Like,
right.
When I look at this,
yeah. Sorry, just my issue with it. Actually, you know what? I've spoken a lot. Owen, do you have something first before I ramble off for a long time?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've thought about this a lot, and there is a difference between radicalism and extremism in my mind, and terrorism falls into these categories. So radical would be, in my mind, somebody that has very unusual beliefs or views for the time, like abolitionists would have been radical, right? And extremists would have taken that step into violence to back up their radical positions. Radicalism isn't necessarily bad. If, sometimes it's right, obviously, abolitionists were, but extremism, in my mind, is bad. MLK and Gandhi have pioneered the way to peaceful protest, and I'm a pacifist. I don't know about anybody else here, but I try really hard to find solutions without violence. Anyway, that's my position on it. So your question is, should we call Israel terrorists? Was that the question?
Well,
the question was, should we call Hamas terrorists?
I would say yes, both.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is,
short of it. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I was saying, I guess my question is, to what degree is calling groups like Hamas terrorists useful in so far as describing this current the current political situation we find ourselves in?
Yeah. So why is it useful to call them terrorists? Is the reason why it is useful to call them terrorists is because they are that, and because we're not doing that. So it's similar, like something that I said last time I was on. We were talking about the genocide in Palestine. We were arguing about whether or not it was actually one. And I took the time to call out people on my side of things, who are on the pro-Palestine, who are on the anti-genocide side of this whole thing, who do not communicate what they're saying. So I'll say it again just from scratch rather than trying to summarize it. There's a lot of people who don't know how to criticize the Israeli government without criticizing all Israelis or all Jews.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who don't know how to talk about how, like, we give preference in the media to Israeli war crimes and don't call them that. And we say, oh, a bunch of Palestinian civilians died in an airstrike. How'd that happen, right? The way that we use the language gives them a pass. There's a lot of people who don't know how to talk about that without putting out this subtone that Jews run the media and shit like that, which is an actual anti-Semitic bullshit, a conspiracy theory, right? And so
agreed.
That's what I'm getting across with that, is that the language that we're using, especially in the middle of a genocide, especially at a moment where what we're doing, trying to fight against this, is so fundamentally important. The language is also fundamentally important. And so if we give Hamas or Hezbollah or whoever a pass and try to downplay how evil their actions are as well, we run the risk of feeding the fire of people who try to say, oh, well, you're only calling this a genocide. You're only talking about this because you're anti-Semitic and because you want to kill Israel and you want to destroy Israelis and you want to all say, if you're not criticizing the actual fucking terrorists too, you're giving them a reason to say shit like that. Also, it puts you in this bullshit moral gray area where you're not actually being consistent with your skepticism, with your the problems you have. I can very clearly say Hamas shouldn't have fucking killed, 1,200 is the highest estimate. We know that it's not actually that high, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
1,200 people, they were civilians. I'm all for fighting against your oppressor. I'm all for taking the boot off of your neck. I'm all for, even in some situations, violent resistance to an oppressive power. But when you are killing civilians who are not their government, who are not the ones in control, now you're an asshole, and I'm not into it. You know what I mean? That's the problem. And we talk about slave revolts and things like that. If a slave kills the person enslaving them, hell yeah. That's not a killing innocent person. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah, sure.
And so like it's as if, to say, if we don't like, pick your favorite thing, if you have any sort of injustice, if the injustice is so extreme that it brings you to violence, attack the people who are in charge of the injustice. And then you're a revolutionary. Then you're a freedom fighter. Then those are the people that we look up to in history that solved the problem. That's how we got our country, was by doing that, fighting against the people with the guns who were hurting us. But to just go slaughter random British people doesn't help. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I would say in this situation, is to be consistent and to be serious about what you're talking about, and to not allow people to gaslight you and box you in by saying, oh, well, actually, you just hate Israel. You just hate Jews. You're just this and this. No, I hate war crimes. And therefore, I'm going to call them out across the board. That's what I'm talking about.
Fair enough.
Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah. For the most part, I'm still a little unsure on I'm still a little unsure on the way of, would you then consider someone like Nat Turner a terrorist?
If he killed innocent people who were not slave owners, then I would have an issue with it. I don't know about the specific case, so I'm not going to condemn this guy without knowing anything about him. But like, I've heard the name before, and so like, if he was killing slave owners and freeing slaves, that's very different than if he was just killing random everyday people in order to get a political point across.
Well, again, yes, they're killing slave owners, but what about their children? Like, they're slave owners. Yes, they are. They technically do own people, but they're not in charge. But
right.
I don't know. I do feel a bit of a moral quandary about condemning the actions of a slave revolt against. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I also do understand why that violence would be directed towards everyone that they see as an oppressor.
Giving you every benefit of every part of the doubt here, and just just taking it. I'm taking what you're saying in the spirit that it was given. I still don't think that the same logic should apply to people like Hamas. When you can read the charter, the actual the founding documents of Hamas, and it says in there that the end of time and when the rapture and all this shit happens is when the Jews are sent fleeing behind rocks, and the rocks themselves call out to the Muslims to come kill the Jews behind them, and then they can kill all that. They actually wrote down that they want to commit genocide in the founding documents of the thing. And so I'm sorry, go ahead, Owen.
Remove that language in
I was just going to say one more thing. Israel also funded and supported the Hamas political party back in the 2000s because they were militant and they were looking for an opportunity to, further that militance, that fight. So anyway, they are terrorists, and we knew that they were terrorists when Israel was funding them, or when they were pushing for them to take power. So,
and I do want to just clarify, I'm not a fan of Hamas. I don't like any sort of fundamental religious groups. They are. That is always a problem. Period. That's an initial problem before the terrorism, and then continuing from there.
And then also the terrorism.
Then also the terrorism. But I guess that was just my main question, was just that I can then understand. I can kind of put myself into the position of saying, I understand why someone would commit violence against a group that has their boot on your neck and never lets up.
Yep. No, I get that, but you don't get to do that by killing innocent people. And that's my whole thing. Anyway, with that, Kevin, we're going to move on to the next call, but I really do appreciate you calling in and talking to us about this. I think it's a productive conversation.
All right. Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Super nice. Super
Yeah,
nice.
totally.
We've got so many other calls, dude. Are you seeing one that you like? Because I see one that I want. I'm looking at line number 1.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, all right. You know what? Do you want to go for that one?
Yeah, fuck it. Let's do it. Let's have fun. Let's do a show. Let's see what happens.
Right.
We've got Max, pronouns he, him, calling in from maximally itchy. I hope it gets better. Says has never voted Republican in his whole life, but will probably vote for Trump this year because of their, in quotations, attacks on Elon. I don't know what that's all about. Max, you're sending me for a loop here. What are you talking about?
Yeah, my whole life I've always voted Libertarian, except for the one time I voted for Bill Clinton. But if I could go back in time, I would vote for Ross Perot. But I typically vote only on principle, so I'll only vote for Libertarians, and I have high respect for the Green Party and progressives, but I have no respect for typical Democrats and Republicans. I always consider them dumb and dumber. I mean, they're just part of the war machine.
What did Donald Trump do to gain your respect?
Different. So what's that?
What did Donald Trump do to gain your respect as an atypical dumb person?
He hasn't He hasn't gained my respect per se, but I'm kind of going outside my normal voting parameters this year, and I'm voting for the things that the candidates that are going to help push the country in the direction that I want to go in. And one of my biggest things is I want to see us go to Mars. And Elon Musk is doing an excellent job of getting us in that direction. But I'm seeing that, and you should know, Elon Musk was a Democrat. I mean, he's a very busy guy, and he stood in line for 3 hours just to shake Barack Obama's hand. I mean,
Elon Musk is not Trump. We're talking about, or how are these two connected?
Well, they're connected because currently the Biden administration, and I'm sure the Harris administration would do the same, is that they have been, over the past few years, have been doing everything in their power to stop SpaceX from making progress. They've been putting in bureaucratic baloney. And in fact, even just recently, just in California, they literally, normally these bureaucrats are very good at covering themselves, but in this case, they explicitly stated that they're shutting down SpaceX's ability to launch from California because specifically, and not just one person, it was the whole council, but many different individuals said it's because of his political views and because he's supporting Trump. And that is just obscene. That's the word.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm skeptical that that's actually what was said. I can say that it's probably similar.
I saw them work.
I'll double check.
I saw the video. I saw them speak word for word.
I'll double check it.
It was the most shameful thing I've ever seen.
Max, I'll take your word for it for now. I'm saying I'm skeptical, but I'll take your word for it for now.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't really do anything about what you're voting for. That doesn't change anything about what you're voting for, because NASA could also get us to Mars just fine, and you wouldn't have to have Musk do it.
They can't.
I'm sure they could.
Cannot.
We're about to send people. We're about to send people back to the moon very soon.
You could say I'm.
The point is, Max. The point is, the main thing you called in, just the synthesis of the past 3 minutes of hearing you speak, is that you think the Musk is going to get us to Mars, and somehow or another, electing Donald Trump is going to help him do that, and you want to get to Mars.
Yes.
So you, as a lifelong libertarian, are going to vote for a fascist so that he can get us to Mars by supporting some dipshit Nepo baby who owns a bunch of companies. That's the point. Well, and what I want to ask you is, are the other consequences that come along with the Donald Trump presidency worth us going to Mars in your mind? Are you willing to sacrifice the lives and liberties of LGBT people and women and Muslims and immigrants, all so that we can maybe get to Mars someday? Is that worth it to you?
Yeah, well, let me put it this way so it's more clear for you. I consider the Democrats and Republicans are basically they're the same side.
You said this already.
They basically.
You said this already. I would much prefer you answer my question than repeat yourself.
Oh yeah. Well, since it doesn't make any difference whether it's Democrat or Republican for 90% of the issues out there, I'm just going to go ahead and go with Trump because he has explicitly stated how he's going to do everything in his power to support Musk, and I believe that will happen. If nothing else, he'll get the bureaucrats out of the way.
Some of the 99%, you said they are same on 99% of the issues. Are they the same on abortion rights?
Let's say 85%. 85%.
Are they the same on abortion rights?
Well, it's not in their hands. It's in the state's hands, and it's in the federal government or federal court. The
as
Supreme
the
Court
result
and the states,
of
right.
Yes, it is up to the states as a result of Donald Trump, who appointed a bunch of Supreme Court justices that made that happen that way. Meanwhile, you've got Harris and Walz who are saying that they want to codify Roe v. Wade and make sure that abortion rights are protected nationally for everybody. So the two parties, the two candidates, are not the same when it comes to abortion rights, correct?
Let me address the abortion principle. Yeah, if you look closely
I would
at
prefer
Roe
you
v.
just
Wade,
answer my question. Answer my question, Max. Are the two candidates the same when it comes to abortion?
Oh, absolutely in practice, because neither one of them has the power to change it as a president.
You're not serious. You're not serious.
I'm absolutely serious. The Supreme Court already
are the two candidates the same when it comes to the rights of transgender people?
They are in terms of this again. It's not the president's job to set the agenda for trans rights people, and there's nothing. Neither Trump, neither one
actually said
Trump is not proposing any legislation to infringe on the rights of trans people.
Yes, he is. This is how I know you're not fucking serious. Donald Trump has actually publicly stated, you can go to his website and look up the videos. He says that he will make it a law that the only genders recognized by the United States government are male and female, and they are assigned at birth. He has said that. He is talking about the eradication of trans and intersex people from the national understanding, from our social conscience, from the legal system. He is absolutely talking about that. Are you kidding me? So the two candidates are very clearly not the same when it comes to that. They're very clearly not the same when it comes to abortion. They're very clearly not the same when it comes to economics. They're very clearly not the same when it comes to poor people, what to do about poor, low and middle income people. The candidates are the same when it comes to warmongering. And when it comes to things like capitalism, we can talk about that.
Bullshit.
But when it comes down to the fact
warmongering, the Democrats are the worst.
Okay, so then we have a difference.
At this stage.
So then we have a difference. But that's the point that I'm trying to make here, is that when it comes to the rights of individual people, especially marginalized people in this country, Donald Trump is very clearly a worse choice. Yes, they fucking do.
Control over that.
Yes, they absolutely do.
Look, if it passed through Congress, which it will never do, then it will go to the Supreme Court and they will get their rights as they should. Again, it'll never even come close to that happening. It's only rhetoric. And in fact, speaking of rhetoric, I don't know the details that you mentioned about him having that. I'm really surprised to hear that. But because when I heard him give the acceptance speech, and I think it was 2016, he explicitly stated his support for LGBTQ plus or whatever it is, all of those rights. He explicitly, in his acceptance speech, he was talking about how much support he has for all of them. So it's absurd. And this guy, you talk like he's some kind of hard right person. He's been a Democrat his whole life. I mean,
Donald
he was beloved by everybody on the left until he ran for president in 2016.
He wasn't beloved by anybody on the left.
Darling of the left.
Certainly not. Certainly not.
About Donald Trump, right?
He
I mean,
absolutely
he was
was.
left leaning.
He was invited to talk shows. He was on the View.
I also want to throw out
The View from 2016.
I also want to throw out he weakened Obama orders because federal executive orders exist. He weakened Obama's orders to protect LGBTQ federal contractors. He always from discrimination based on their gender identity, based on their sexuality, whatever. He banned trans people from the military. Like, that's an issue. He ended anti-discrimination protections for transgender patients. Like, yes, the president has power to inflict harm on ordinary people. And Trump is very clearly, very openly anti-LGBT. And even though he says, well, sometimes I like him, he likes him when they vote for him. That's all he cares about. Otherwise, he wouldn't be going to all of these ultra-Christian rallies and telling them that if they vote for him, he'll never have to vote again. You'll never have to vote again if you just get me in this one more time. So that's the big thing, is that you calling in and saying, I'm a libertarian, I have been my whole life. That's why I'm going to elect a fascist who is going to hurt a lot of people.
He's no more fascist than...
You're going to say he's no more fascist than Harris? Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Oh my God!
Really?
I mean, I will. I'm sorry, I'm probably talking too loud. I will agree that
you are
in around the Bush. Sorry about that. You're getting me all excited. Around the Bush.
Okay.
I mean the Bush and Dick Cheney. They were the most evil fascists. But Obama just continued their exact same warmongering policies step by step, and in fact started a whole bunch more wars. And then and Clinton would have done the same. In fact, she wanted to.
Yeah,
she was all in.
Brother,
Obama was. Yes, Obama did a lot of shit that I don't like. Obama isn't running. Who is running is the man who has said that you'll never have to vote again if you let him win. The man who has said that he would be a dictator. The man who is running said that he will be a dictator on day one. Look, he also said that he would use his power to get rid of anybody who disagreed with him, who just said he would cut funding from any school that teaches things that he doesn't like, who told a Christian congregation that they would never have to vote again if he was elected. This is the guy who's actually running, not Obama. I don't like Obama for a lot of the reasons either. The point is, this guy is actually doing fascist shit, including saying that he would use the military to go after any American citizens who hold political beliefs he doesn't like. He has said that the leftists and liberals are the enemies within our country and that he would use the military to hunt them down. That is fascism. He has said that immigrants are poisoning the blood of America. That is fascism. That all the time.
He's been doing that
and this is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. Shut the fuck up, Max. This is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning of the show when we said that this is a fucking cult. Because if fucking Harris came out and said all these libertarians need to be attacked by the military, anybody who doesn't vote for me, anybody who doesn't support my ideas, we're going to pull funding from their schools and we're going to send the military after them. Bullshit, Max. You would not be sitting here saying, oh, this is just empty political rhetoric. You like him because you like him because you like him because you like him because he's supporting the guy that you like. He's supporting this fucking idiot Nepo baby who has a shit ton of money from an apartheid emerald mine and can buy up a bunch of businesses and claim that he invented shit. And because you like that dumb fuck who bought up a social media platform, ran it into the ground and made it a safe space for Nazis, because you like that guy, you're now going to support the guy who goes against everything that you as a so-called libertarian actually believe in. Because it's convenient for you politically, because you are neither gay, nor trans, nor female. You don't have to worry about the fucking implications of this. You're some fucking random middle-class white guy, cis-het white dude in the middle of America. You don't give a fuck, because you don't have to. But people's actual lives are on the line. And you're dicking around with political rhetoric when this guy is actually openly talking about putting his political opponents to death. Max, I'm going to bring you back on.
All that's impossible.
Owen, you haven't even stopped talking this whole time. You haven't even stopped talking this whole time.
No, but I was listening to you. Okay.
Hard to listen while you're yelling.
So all right. Let me address all those issues you mentioned. Okay. So as far as trying to remember all of them, but let's see. Let's start with Elon Musk and Twitter running into the ground.
Elon Musk is not running. Elon Musk is not running for office. You're saying you're voting for Trump, not for Elon Musk.
I'm voting for getting all the attacks off of Elon Musk, and this would be the most straightforward way to do it.
So you care so much about riding Elon Musk's dick that you are willing to sacrifice women and trans people to do it.
Okay,
that's what you're saying.
Okay, I'll address that issue. Okay, yeah. So, well, I already mentioned it, but there's no way in the world that he's going to be able to have any power over them, especially with regard the Supreme Court will overrule it if he does anything ridiculous like that, which he won't. Same if you
mean the same Supreme Court that do you mean the same Supreme Court that is loaded with his cronies that just voted a little bit ago that anything the president does is allowed, even if it's wholly illegal and against the Constitution, as long as it's an official action? That Supreme Court?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that ruling, I'll have to say. But
yeah, kind of the opposite of libertarianism, isn't it?
No, I agree. That was a bad ruling. Very bad ruling.
Yeah, so now Trump has an open playing field, completely free reign to do whatever he wants and call it a political action, including, as the justices against it have noted, killing his political rivals. He can send the military to assassinate political rivals, and that is allowed because that's what the fucking Supreme Court who ruled on it said he could do.
That's ridiculous. Oh my God.
That's what the court said.
When you're sitting here make these statements in context, you know he's just bullshitting.
He didn't say it, Max. You're saying the Supreme Court's going to stop him if he gets out of control. The Supreme Court said that he could attack and kill his political rivals as long as it's a official action. I'm not fucking hysterical. I'm paying attention. Why aren't you?
No, I agree with the Supreme Court ruling, but I'm saying that Trump himself, he was in charge for 4 years and he didn't attack anyone or do anything like that. So it's absurd.
He didn't attack anyone or do anything like that. He didn't bomb the hell out of the Middle East, and he didn't assassinate people over there. Really?
Well, he did less than Obama did. That's for sure.
Oh, that makes it good then. That's a very libertarian answer.
New wars
yes.
like Obama and betting a new country every 6 months.
Absolute fucking horseshit. Max, Owen, do you have anything else?
Happen with Harris is going to start more wars than probably Trump will, because Trump, as far as tough as he talks, he doesn't have the stomach for.
I'm going to go and just mute Max for a second. Right. Owen, do you have anything that you want to talk about, Max?
Yeah, I do. First of all, okay,
I'm going to bring it back, Max, because holy fuck, dude. We're going to bring you back on so Owen can talk to you.
All right, there's this big talking point that Donald Trump didn't start any new wars or whatever. We were already in the worst quagmires we could possibly be in. He could have pulled out. He had his generals draw up the plans for that, and he chose not to. Weirdly, he set the pullout date to be after the election, so that he could easily find some reason to blame it on blame this ugly pullout that he wrote up on somebody else. Anyway, aside from that, I took a look at your claim about Elon Musk. SpaceX, basically Elon Musk claimed that he's being persecuted by regulators because of the regulations.
Well, he is for a fact.
No, it's not a fact, bro. This is literally an opinion. That is what this is. It's an opinion.
They had a public hearing on it. I watched them. I watched the people, the counselors, literally state.
Who had a public hearing?
Because it's a political support.
Who are you talking about? Who had this hearing? Where did this happen?
Okay, yeah, it's the California Coastal Commission, I believe it is. I could look it up. It's pretty easy.
Okay, I'm not sure who that is or why, any of that.
Oh my God!
No, that's it.
This is what the article says.
Some piddling committee somewhere in California said something mean about Elon Musk, and that means that women deserve to bleed out in parking lots because we have to vote fucking Donald Trump in.
Yeah, and this is what the article says that you're referring to. Elon Musk says he's being blocked from, it says SpaceX sues California regulator, claiming it's launches were blocked because of Elon Musk's politics. There is no basis in reality for these claims. They just made this shit up. Now, it's going to be adjudicated in a court or whatever, but until it's adjudicated, you cannot say that this is a fact. It's not.
Oh, it's a fact that they're trying. That's for sure.
They're trying to
that's the thing.
Coastal Commission.
That's what regulation is.
Google Elon Musk California Coastal Commission and watch the video.
I tell you what, there's actually a rule. There is a rule, a federal rule that says that Elon Musk specifically is not able to build his rockets in California. There was a rule that was passed. It happens to be the 34th, pardon me, the 34th rule from the government. So if you want to find out, just look up Elon Musk Rule 34 and you'll learn everything you need to know about it. Max, you're not fucking serious. You're not paying attention. And if you are,
Google California.
I'm not going to let you finish the thing. We're done, Max. You're not fucking serious. This is absolutely a joke to you. You don't give a fuck about the consequences of any of your actions. All you care about is that the fucking idiot running a big corporation, the billionaire that you love as a libertarian, you love this fucking billionaire so much that you're willing to sacrifice the future of your country and millions of people in it because you want to make sure that this guy has his dick worshipped effectively. Fuck all the way off, you selfish fucking ass.
And on top of all of that, on top of all of it, when pushed into a corner, he admitted that this stuff was like not important to him, or he admitted that like the Supreme Court did things he didn't like or whatever. He admitted that this is exactly, how things played out, but didn't change his mind. Why?
Just, man, I can't handle it. I can't handle somebody who is actually going to sit here and say that they're the same. They're all just the same. And I know Obama was bad, and that means that we got to vote in this fucking guy, this shitty ass reality TV star, so he can fucking just shit all over the Constitution some more. That's who we need, because he'll make sure that the fucking nepo baby billionaire can take us to Mars, because surely it'll benefit everybody. Like the Hyperloop. And like the self-driving cars that are completely autonomous, and the solar panels, the solar tiles on the roof, and all those things that actually worked immediately and are on a time frame, and Cybertruck, the things that help everybody, just like all those, he'll get us to another goddamn planet. It'll be great. Good gravy, dude. Grow the fuck up and care about somebody else. Ugh. Gross.
They're great.
Real gross, Max.
Anymore.
Yeah, sorry to fucking ramble so much on that call.
No.
That level of dishonesty is so fucking gross.
It's crazy.
We've got a bunch of lines that are full. Do you have a particular one that you like? Because I see a couple that I like.
Yeah, I know you were looking at the at number 5. Is that Johnny? Is that the one the very top?
Oh yeah, I don't know if we can knock out Johnny really quick. This is completely different, but why not? Johnny, pronouns he him, calling in from. I just remember these calls get clipped, and I can't start out the call by saying that. Johnny calling in from Mount Dingus thinks he has a better response to the DNA is code argument, an analogy for something. Johnny, what's up? You're on the line with Forrest Nolan.
Hi, Forrest. This one's for you specifically. On your channel, I saw the video. I met Gramps. I don't know if you remember. Donald James Parker. I thought actually, I tried to find it. I tried to find the quote. But your response was basically that DNA isn't just code, because you made the basic, like, it doesn't work 1-to-1, right?
Pretty much. A lot of people try to oversimplify DNA into just calling it a code, which is a fine thing to say. It is a code insofar as like it has, a meaning that can be extracted from it. But the people who say that tend to, number one, grossly oversimplify all the things that DNA does and how it works, and also number two, they tend to pretend like because it's so complex and because it is a quote language that they can then extend that analogy to say, well, then it needs somebody to make it happen this way. It needs a coder or writer or whatever like that. So that's my major issue.
Yeah, so I thought so. And I think I think machine learning addresses both of those points as a better analogy.
Okay, just go for it.
So one, being super complicated means that it had to be designed. We design like the environment for machine to learn, but then we just set it free and basically have no idea what it's actually doing on the other side.
Yeah, machine learning and genetic algorithms is something that I didn't know about whenever I started taking those calls, because I'm not a computer science guy at all.
I am.
And so like I have since, hell yeah, sick. Yeah, I've since learned about those things. And like after the first video, because I've made several Reactoria videos where we address the whole code argument. After the first one where I said, hey, this is a shitty analogy, it doesn't work this way, I had a ton of computer people get in my comments and be like, hey, by the way, also, computer code absolutely does write itself all the fucking time. That's what it's fine. Yes, you can do that. So
I was one of them. I did write you an email.
Oh, nice. There you go.
Okay. Since that was so quick, can I ask Owen a question?
Yeah,
sure.
Again, super unrelated, but I was listening to the intro and I heard you wrote a book about religiosity in World War II.
Yes.
Is that focused just on Nazi Germany, or are you also like, do you talk about whatever was going on with Japan also? Because that would be super interesting to me.
It was solely on Germany. Actually, it was about Hitler's relations with Catholics and everything that happened from 1925 to 1945, basically, with Catholics. And then another section on Jehovah's Witnesses and another on the Protestant Church, a couple chapters on that. And, Dietrich Bonhoeffer and things. So, yeah. Oh, and denazification. I also cover how they went about denazifying after the war and how they cleaned the church out or got rid of Nazis from within the church. It was pretty interesting. But yeah, no, I don't cover Japan, unfortunately.
Okay, maybe sequel
I'd
material.
read such a book.
Maybe.
It sounds neat.
Maybe, yeah.
Anyway, John, do you have something specific you wanted to ask? Because we're going to jump into the next political call, if that's okay with you.
That's okay with me. Yeah, you answered it.
All right. If you have any specific science questions or anything like that, please call me on Skeptalk sometime. We might actually get to dig into them a little bit. Right now, I've got to move on to the political stuff.
I understand. Yep. See ya.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you, Johnny. I'm going to jump straight into line number 4 there, because this person's been waiting for like an hour, and I have some questions that I want to ask. We've got Steve, pronouns he, him, calling in from nipple elongations. Says a few of the line hosts have persuaded for Harris, but now won't vote because of Gaza, wants to vote for Jill Stein. There's a lot there. Steve, you're on the line with Forrest. Owen, how you doing?
Yeah, hey, happy Friday, Forrest and Owen. Thanks for taking my call. So, that was a good summation you made there. I was calling in.
That's what I've got here on the call screen. But I also want to point out, like, you've called in like a few different times, and every single time started out against Harris and then decided at the end of the call, like, okay, I guess I'll vote Harris. And now you're calling back again saying, okay, I'm not going to vote for Harris anymore. What's going on?
Oh, okay. So Thursday I called in and expressed my support for Cornel West. And I was correctly criticized that that's a throwaway vote because he's an independent. He's not affiliated with the political party. But
and now you're going to vote for Jill Stein and you will receive the exact same criticism.
No, because it's not a wasted vote, because the higher the Green Party's vote tally, greater will be our support for having the Greens gain ballot access in the next election cycle. In the future,
in the next election cycle,
candidates like you and Owen to run it for the Green Party.
No fucking way. Also, do you genuinely believe, like you just said it, in the next election cycle? So you are understanding that when you are voting for Jill Stein, you are not in any way possibly going to get Jill Stein elected, right?
I realize that this time. What about in 4 years if it's easier for her to get on the ballot?
Right now.
Get on all
talking about right now. You are not going to get Jill Stein elected, right?
Okay. In good conscience, I can't vote for Kamala. Are there innocent children suffering in Gaza where they're being maimed and starved to death by genocidal maniacs whom the Biden-Harris administration have aided and abetted? Can't do it.
Agree. I agree. Do you think that the situation in Gaza has a better chance of getting better with Trump or Harris in office?
I'll tell you what they need to do. They need to sit down at the peace table. You know what I would do?
I don't care what you want to do. I asked you a question. Do you think that the situation in Gaza is going to be better? I don't care what your plan is. You're not running for office. Do you think that the situation is going to be better with Trump or Harris in office?
Well, there was the peace accords and the Abraham peace accords under Trump, and what was that? Operation Warp Speed. Amazing speed. They got the COVID ban.
Totally different.
I mean, there were some good things about Trump.
Anything even comparable. Trump said that he supports Israel's action in Gaza, and that if he was elected, he would get the job done. He said that Israel releasing images of Gaza is losing the PR war. Yes, you are voting for him because you're voting against.
No. You can't.
Who is the only one?
If Trump gets elected, because I voted for Jill.
You can't fault you for voting. You can't vote you for saying getting Trump elected. You just voted against the only person that you admit has a chance of beating him. Jill Stein can't beat him. Harris can beat him. And you're not going to vote for her. You're going to vote for Jill Stein, who you admit is not going to win, so that somewhere down the line, you can change our political structure. You know, just like every single election, when third-party voters say, if I do it now, then next time we'll have a better chance of getting somebody else. Yes, we need a better voting system. We need to get rid of the Electoral College. We need ranked choice voting. We need more party options. All of these things are true. Now is not the time to have that fight. Now is the time to make sure that the fascist, who is going to be so much worse for Gaza and also for tens of millions of Americans, doesn't get in office. Those are your options. You either vote against him or you don't. And if you're voting for anybody besides the only other candidate who could possibly beat him, you are helping him win.
It's a short-term sacrifice
a short-term sacrifice. A short-term sacrifice of women, of LGBT people, and of Palestine. Because whereas Harris has at least come out and said that there needs to be a ceasefire and that the civilian suffering is way too great, Donald Trump has said that the only problem with Gaza is that the images have gotten out and that's bad PR for Israel, and that he would help them finish the job.
Okay,
so you're talking about a short-term sacrifice? The short-term sacrifice is continuing and worsening the genocide that you are claiming as your moral high ground.
I think Trump's going to be around that long. His age, and somebody will take him out.
What a disgusting, stupid plan. What a disgusting and stupid plan. You are going to risk the rights and lives. Shut the fuck up, Steve. You're going to risk the lives of countless millions of people, risk the freedom of millions of Americans, banking on the idea that somebody's going to assassinate the president? Are you fucking kidding me? This isn't a goddamn movie, Steve. This is real life. You get a vote. Use it responsibly.
Okay. Well, let's just respectfully agree to disagree. I'm voting for the Greens.
I do not respectfully agree to disagree with you. I do not respectfully disagree with you. Absolutely not. We did survive. You survived 4 years of him, Steve. Lots and lots of people didn't. Because he fucking fumbled the ball about COVID. Who did, Steve? Was it the millions of people who died of COVID because he said it was a hoax? Shut the fuck up, Steve. Was it the millions of people who died of COVID because he said it was a hoax and that it would all blow away by April? And that if you just go out and get some sunlight and inject bleach in your veins, you'll be better? Did those people survive the 4 years of having that asshole in charge of the country? What about the people at the border who had their children taken away from them and locked in fucking dog cages? And we lost several of them too. Did those children and the people there that died in those cages, did they survive the Trump presidency? Is he the only one to do that? Absolutely not. But did he do it? Fuck yeah, he did. And you're voting for him because you're voting against the only person who has a chance of beating him. And you're going to say this is a short-term sacrifice so we can get to your preferred political situation? The millions and millions of people who are going to suffer because of it? The women who are bleeding out in their car in the parking lot right now because Roe was canceled? Those women, they're just part of the sacrifice for Steve's new government. Owen, I'm fucking grossed out by Steve. Do you have anything you want to say that's productive?
No, I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. And unfortunately, it's a super common viewpoint in society, so we have to address it. That being said, look, as you said earlier, there is nothing that's going to change the way that our voting system works until the regulation comes in. Until we get something other than first past the post, there's no point in voting third party. There is no point in doing it. It's only throwing your vote away. If you want to do something productive, fight for regulation. Go out there and lobby and protest and talk to your senator and your everybody else trying to get first past the post ended. But vote in every election, not for somebody that has absolutely no chance of winning.
Vote early, often. That is the way to do it. Steve, bringing it back
about Gaza.
Have you even stopped talking while we were discussing this? While we were talking this whole time?
I was talking. I think I was on mute, but thanks for letting me know that now.
You were on mute, and we just brought you back, and you were still talking. Did you hear anything that Owen or I just said?
Yeah, he said that the third party he said that third party votes are a waste, and they're not. It's not a waste to vote Green because they'll be in a better position 4 years if they can gain automatic ballot access and they don't have to go through the
same
process.
People have been saying that for fucking decades, Steve. All the third party voters have been saying exactly that for decades. And meanwhile, the government has fucked over a lot of people who could have been helped if people like you actually voted appropriately. The fucking Bernie or busters back in 2016 that refused to vote, abstained from the vote, wrote in Bernie Sanders because the DNC fucked over Bernie and the primary voters. Absolutely, they did that. It was wrong. They put up Hillary and they shouldn't have done it. It was wrong. But then the people who didn't vote are the reason why we got the first Trump presidency. We would have had Hillary Clinton and it would have been more of the shitty same. But instead, we got something exponentially worse because a bunch of people like you decided that the general election was the time to decide to vote your conscience and, I can't just support this candidate. Dude, I get it. I really do get it. If like a person of color, especially an indigenous person, cannot bring themselves to vote in this election because they see the fucking genocide that happened to their family that they were taught about, and they feel that visceral response and they just can't fucking bring themselves to do it. Dude, I have so much sympathy for that and I respect it and I hate it and I hate the situation and I cannot fault it. And I'm like, dude, that historical trauma, I get that. If you're not in that very specific fucking situation, I have such a hard time taking it seriously to say, yeah, I think the two candidates are pretty damn close. They're both supporting this genocide. I agree with you. It's fucking evil. Therefore, trans people, LGBT people of all stripes, women, Mexicans, other immigrants, Haitians, everybody, just fuck it all. You know what I mean? Because it's the same thing on this one thing. Nobody's saying that one of them is expected to end the genocide tomorrow. I wish that was the case. I wish that Harris would come out and say, we're fucking putting up an arms embargo, no more weapons sale to Israel until they get their shit together, or possibly ever. I think she would win the election in a landslide if she did that shit. But as it stands, one of them is definitely, clearly a better option on that one issue, and it's Harris. And one of them is definitely, clearly a better option on literally every other issue, and it's Harris. And you're sitting here saying, I'm just going to let it get fucking worse for literally everybody in the world because I think that might eventually help. Yeah, right. For millions of people who are going to suffer, and a lot of them are going to die because of
We
what you
survived.
want.
We did it. We survived.
You fucking survived, Steve. No, you survived. Millions did not.
You did too.
You survived.
Yeah, we did.
My mom was in the hospital. She almost died.
Died?
You know,
Yeah, us
mom
three
almost died from
cisgender
COVID.
heterosexual white dudes survived, Steve.
we did it.
Millions others did not. And you're trivializing the deaths of those millions of people by saying, fuck it, at least I got out. Maybe I'll do it again.
I'm not. My mom almost died.
Mate.
She was in the hospital. She almost died from COVID.
Okay.
Damn close.
I'm
Yeah,
really
you're right
glad
today.
she had a good doctor. That doesn't change anything,
Right.
Steve.
And we need Medicare for all. We need Medicare for all. Do you want Medicare
Who do you
for all?
think is closer to
Kind
giving it
of.
to you, Steve? Do you think that Harris or Trump are going to push the political spectrum closer to making that a reality?
Jill Stein's the one that has a
Absolutely not. Steve, you are so fucking
Look
full
at
of
the
yourself. It's
platform.
unbelievable. It is absolutely unreal that you can sit here and say, I made it, and a bunch of people that I like made it, so it doesn't
you did
fucking
too. We
matter.
did.
The
We-
millions
we-
of people, the millions of people that lost their lives during the pandemic because it was fundamentally mishandled by Donald Trump himself specifically, it's cool because Steve made it out, and I made it out, and your mom made it out, and that's great. Absolutely disgusting, Steve. Totally feckless and irresponsible, and I think you need to seriously reconsider your priorities and your morality. If you're going to call in and say you have this moral reason for voting for against Harris, I think you need to seriously reconsider where your actual moral lines lie. Really quick, Owen, do you have anything left for Steve before we move on?
I do, actually. By the way,
Yeah.
Jill Stein is a total scumbag. I don't know who would vote for her. She is a Russian shill. She hangs out with Vladimir Putin. She has eaten dinner with him. She's, hung around and supported Russia in the Russia-Ukraine battle. I don't know why anybody would vote for her, of all people.
Didn't she also say that, the only reason she's running at this point is to beat Harris specifically? She was like, I'm just trying to get Harris out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and RFK Jr. also said that, basically.
Great. Doesn't surprise me at all with that idiot. Holy fuck, RFK Jr. is a nightmare, dude. Steve, I'm not going to unmute you because, quite frankly, I'm so fucking sick of your bullshit. The fact that you are this unbelievably dishonest and self-absorbed really fucking sucks. And the fact that this is your fourth or fifth time now calling in to spew the same dumb shit and then say, well, I guess I'll change my vote. And then you call back in with another thing. I think that you're just jerking us around just almost as much as you're jerking yourself off. And that blows. So get it together, Steve. Maybe don't call back. I don't know. We've got I think we've got 3 other calls left. And then a bunch of other people. We've had to cap calls. And we've only got a couple left that we've got going on here. Let's talk to Sam. You talk to Sam?
Sure.
Let's talk to Sam. Sam, calling in from Giggling Anacondas, talking about laughing large snakes, heaviest snakes in the world, having a little laughing fit. Curious to know if the host can explain why trickle-down economics doesn't work. Sam, you're on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing today?
How's it going, guys? Big fan. One thing before I start, I just don't understand. Yeah, single issue voters. My God, come on, Steve. But yeah, so
what sucks is that if there was ever a single issue to be serious about, it would be genocide. But the fact of the matter is, you got 2 people up here that are both part of this, and that fucking blows. And I don't want to trivialize that in any way. I really, really don't. And so, I don't want to come across saying if you're not voting against Trump, you're voting for Trump, all these things. But the real meat and potatoes of the issue is that even just on that, you have someone Harris who is at least better and has a chance to be persuaded. Whereas you got Trump over there who's just it doesn't matter. He's already made up his mind and nobody can be more important than his ego. I don't know, man. Sorry, I'm on a whole thing about that. Sam, what's your question?
So yeah, the main bit is trickle-down economics, because as far as I understand, that's really what Trump's economic plan really boils down to. Same thing that Reagan was doing. So whenever I go to look into if this crap even works, I'll see one website that will claim that there's no evidence that it does work. And then I'll find one that says that it does, and it'll quote unemployment numbers. It'll say about 4 point something. I don't know what, I think it was 7 point something percent when Reagan was in office, peaked at 11 point something percent. And then at the end, when he left office, it was 4.5% when he left. So to me, I'm seeing very conflicting results here. One says there's no evidence that it creates jobs, and one is clearly showing that job unemployment does in fact go down. So I'm not sure what's going on there.
Owen, I'm taking notes over here. I've got a couple of things I would jump into, but I've been talking a lot the last two calls.
Okay,
You want to go ahead and start us off?
There is a case where in Kansas, I believe, the governor, Sam Brownback, maybe? Something Brownback, I don't remember. He decided to fully implement trickle-down economics in the state of Kansas, and it destroyed the Kansas economy. And the dude was basically excised from the party after that. Trickle-down economics, I'll tell you what it really does. Short term, it boosts the economy because there's more spending going on when taxes are cut. But long term, it leads to a massive crash, inevitably. So Reagan implements trickle-down economics, by the way, referred to as voodoo economics by his vice president, George H.W. Bush. Anyway, he implements trickle-down economics, gets a short boom, looks fantastic for him. And then the very next term, that president has to deal with the inevitable crash. Now, they can kind of try to guide the U.S. into less of a less dramatic crash or whatever, but there's going to be an economic contraction as a result of trickle-down economics. That's just how it works, and every economist in the world knows it. This is not controversial. There are no questions up in the air. We're not sure or whatever. We all know it. But people like Milton Friedman and other high-profile right-wing economists pretend they don't, I guess. But if you pin them down, I would be willing to bet those right-wing economists would acknowledge the factual, step-by-step logic that trickle-down economics is bullshit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just say, you're bringing up employment as your evidence. I would just point out the fact that employment does not necessarily mean prosperity. So, like, the idea that, these big rich people are going to get more jobs, they're going to create more jobs. There's not a single place in the country right now where full-time employment at minimum wage can afford you a one-bedroom apartment. There's not a single place in the country. I should say at least not a single state. Maybe there's some weird city out there, right? But not a single state in the country where the average one-bedroom apartment can be afforded with just casual, a 40-hour week work on minimum wage. So, and also it's important to point out that I think it's a little over 40% of homeless people are also employed. So, just having a job and having these big corporations and big rich people make a bunch of jobs doesn't work. Ask any Amazon worker about not being able to afford rent and having to piss in a bottle. You know what I mean? What matters is actually what is happening at the very bottom. What is the lowest class amongst us experiencing? Are they being raised up by policies like this? And the answer is categorically no. Because what happens when you have these major tax cuts for rich people is that these companies buy up a bunch of their own stock and fire a bunch of their own workers and gain a bunch of value for themselves. And these very rich assholes hoard a bunch of wealth, put it in their own pockets, put it in their own stocks, put it in their own portfolio, put it in their own assets. And everything gets worse for everybody else because you got Musk and Bezos and Gates and all these other people who just live like fucking more lavish than any emperor could possibly live. That's the reality of things like this. And so, as far as this concept that these people are going to pass their money down, no, they are going to affect the rest of the economy, but not by sharing wealth. It is going to be by creating bullshit jobs that run in bullshit ways, passing regulation and bills that is going to benefit them, lobbying in ways that are going to benefit them, hoarding more of their own wealth, consolidating more of their own wealth for their own selves and their own families, while everybody else suffers and starves, but they're employed. The general rule that I've learned from all of it is that the whole concept of trickling down only works when you're being pissed on. And in all of the cases, it's not a reliable thing.
I gotcha. Yeah, the main reason I'm bringing it up is because I am regrettably friends with a fair bit of, let's call them right-wingers. And I know that when I brought this up before, we don't talk about it a lot. When I brought it up before, they bring up how whenever Trump was president, they had more money, and that was just so great, blah, 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 blah. So my main point of attack is to attempt to dismantle the economy question, because I know I can win over literally every other point that people bring up about, women's rights, human rights, anything else. I know I can win those. That's not hard. But I just wondered, because when I look these things up, yeah, people will get a little bit of money, like you guys said in the beginning. I guess I didn't really try to look towards the long-term outcome. I just thought it might be the winning path.
Yeah, it doesn't work out long-term, of course. But, yeah, things were cheaper under Trump, and they were cheaper than that under Obama, and they were cheaper than that under Bush. Like, a little bit of inflation is a good thing. We want the economy growing a little bit because it incentivizes people to buy now instead of putting their money in a savings account, which, anyway, it's a big, long, complicated thing. The point is, the economy is always growing. Trump likes to say that his economy was the strongest, the best out of any president ever at the time. Well, guess what? It's even better now. Like, that's how it works, What was that?
So he inherited Obama's economy. Like, I don't know what he's talking about. He didn't do anything. Like, what?
Yeah, exactly. And he destroyed it. I mean, I can't fully blame him for that, because COVID comes along and kind of ravages everything. So I get it. But, he implemented largely like Republican ideals economically, which again sometimes create a short-term boom, but inevitably end badly. And no serious economist believes that this is a good way to do things. It is only to put more money in the rich people's pockets. And ultimately, the claim is that money is going to trickle down on people because they're going to create more jobs, so on and so forth. But that's not the point. The point is to get more money for the rich people, right? That's step one of trickle-down economics. Get more money for rich people. Those people are just getting richer. They're not giving any money to anybody or whatever. So anyway, it's just creating an even worse wealth gap, which is above all else really one of the biggest problems here. So, yeah.
It's a bad time.
Really, anyway. The whole thing with trickle-down economics is, as far as I understand, is it really just relies on the please billionaires, give me more money because you have more money. Okay, well, if they were going to do that, wouldn't they not be billionaires?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like turning the entire fucking economy into a shitty bank that charges you for having a low balance and gives a high interest rate to the already rich people. Anyway, we're gonna move on then, Sam, but I really appreciate you calling in and talking to us about it. It's fun to talk about. Have an awesome rest of your day, man.
Thanks, Owen. Thanks, Forrest.
Yep. Bye. I'm disappointed.
If I can hop on really quick, I want to tell the audience I had closed the lines because we had like 4 callers, but 3 of them dropped. So I'm reopening the lines. So if you were like, arg, I was going to call in and they closed the lines, we have a few lines open.
I was just about to say, I'm disappointed. There's a guy on Instagram who is trying to dox me and says he has a bunch of like secret information about my past and how I'm actually a con artist who's on the run from the FBI and all sorts of stuff. It was on the Atheist Experience posted a clip of me, and this guy's all over their comment section talking about how I'm on the run from the FBI and that's why I changed my name and I'm actually secretly this fucking guy who's doing this. And like, I've invited that guy to call in a bunch. And I was hoping to talk to that guy today. That's what I wanted. That was where I wanted this show to go today. Oh, man.
People just say shit sometimes. It's crazy.
Dude, it blows. I wanted to talk to that dude so bad. Because, like, he actually... What's crazy is, like, I don't know who the fuck he is. But apparently he actually did know me at one point. And, like, there was so much that we could have had fun talking about. we just can't. I don't know. I agree with Santa Cliff in the chat. I was made in the lab. I came out like this.
Right.
It's, when you're on the run for the FBI, you do a bunch of very public talk shows and call-in shows and let tens of thousands of people a week see your face. That's how you hide. That's how you do it. We've got a bunch of people calling in immediately. We're going to go with Gina real quick. This should be a quick one because I think we agree on some things, if not everything. Gina, pronouns she, her, calling in from Only Horses. It's a bestiality site. I don't know. Says has like an emperor has no clothes situation going on with Trump sycophants. Is worried about rioting. Gina, you're on the line with Owen and Forrest. How are you doing?
Thank you. Real well, thank you. Owen, I love Telltale. I love watching you. Forrest, your hair would make a beautician's dream. I swear to God.
Oh, thank you.
Got a head of hair.
I grew up myself.
You're welcome. I'm sure you did all the years you've been living, huh? The reason I'm calling, I'm just saying, these people are like really out there. There's no third party you want to vote for. You vote for a third party, you're voting for Trump. He gets in there. Listen, he's never going to leave office if he gets in. I just don't understand where their mentality is. There are so many sycophants that are like telling this guy, you have your clothes on, and really he's just walking around naked. He's just exposing himself every day. You remember how he said the thing, he goes, I love the uneducated. He wants to destroy the Department of Education. He wants to stop funding it. There's just so many things that he wants to do that are so terrible for us. Okay. And I think one thing that we have going for us is, I know, Joe Biden stepped down. That broke my heart. It really did. And do you think that man's going to leave office and let his legacy be destroyed if democracy is destroyed? You got to remember something. That immunity that the Supreme Court gave to Trump goes to all presidents. And it's not Pence and Trump now that are validating the vote. It's Biden and Harris. So all the things that Trump could do under that immunity in regards to presidential acts, as could Joe Biden. So, because I've been real nervous about this, I'm real anxious, and I keep thinking, oh my God, what are we going to do? Especially with women's rights and just so many things. And then I just thought, Joe Biden is not going to leave after 50 plus years of public service and let us, and let democracy sway in the wind. You know what I'm saying? I just think, and everybody wants, and Trump really does go out of his way trying to promote him as diminished. So, and everything they say is like pretty much projection. So, I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that the ruling about immunity, presidential immunity, my wife is in law school. She's got like a month left. So I've been watching this pretty closely. I believe that immunity is actually what it was. It meant that a president's acts can be adjudicated by the Supreme Court as well, if it was a presidential act or not. So it's not just he has full blanket immunity. It's that presidential acts have blanket immunity, and now the Supreme Court can decide if that thing was a presidential act instead. So the Supreme Court can basically determine whether Biden has immunity or Trump has immunity. It's even more insidious in some ways. So Biden, if he tried to stay in, the Supreme Court would definitely say that that was not a presidential act, whether it was or not. So, and also, I don't know. I don't think that Biden has
in office. Huh?
I don't think he has it in him to stay. I think he has too much respect for democracy, I guess.
I agree.
So it may lead to democracy's destruction for him to leave or whatever. It would definitely lead to its destruction if he stayed. So I don't know. I'm not convinced he would stay.
on the same token, though, you got to think about it like, you know, I don't think he would really want to leave and have his legacy tarnished, letting democracy just be at. I'm not saying that he would take it away or anything like that. I'm saying if Kamala wins legitimately, and then Trump goes out of his way to, you know, protest this, you know, do the crap that he did the last time, trying to take it away from her. I'm saying that I do see Biden coming out of the, you know, out of the corners and saying, hey, yo, we ain't gonna go like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not gonna be a Pence situation, is what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, pretty much. I just think that we don't have to worry about that, because that was one thing I've been so worried about, because no matter how much I think that Kamala's going to win, and I really do, I think the Democrats will win, I still see a big clusterfuck at the end. And here's one more thing. You know what? The Palestinian thing, I have been on the Palestinian side for a long time. Netanyahu is a bad man. And he always has been, even since Ariel Sharon. Even when Yasser Arafat, you know, in the PLO, when he came and they let Ariel Sharon come back after having killed so many, been exiled to the mountains. So then he comes back, and then he ends up passing away. So then you got Netanyahu over here taking his place. He is a bad man, and he doesn't want to have to leave office either, and he's in the same kind of situation Trump is. You got to remember, Trump is running to stay out of jail. If you think he's going to give up that office, it ain't even happening. It ain't even going to happen. We will never vote again.
Yep.
I don't
so
think.
Like I believe my big thing with this, you know, there's a lot of people out there that'll say that, you know, oh, well, Trump can't possibly be a dictator. We have this and this and this system in place. For me, I believe what people tell me. When they tell me what kind of person they are, I believe them. And so with Trump, he has clearly stated with his own words and face that he wants to be a dictator, that he'll never be out of office, that he wants to run again. All they say, like, he has said these words with his own dumb mouth, and I'm going to believe him that that's actually what he wants. Anyway, with that, Gina, we're going to move on, but I really appreciate you calling in and talking to us.
Peace and chicken grease, both of you. Keep it going. Thanks.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hey, can I hop in again real quick? Oh, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that you open the lines back up, and then it looks like we have one person in the queue, one person in the call-in queue trying to get in, and then we got like, I don't know if somebody's waiting or not, because it says, yeah. What were you saying?
Trying to tell the audience, we are not looking to commiserate with you guys. We appreciate and understand why you want to call in and commiserate, but that's not what the show is for. If you are third-party voter, you're abstaining from voting, or if you are a Trump voter, we'll definitely talk to you. If you want to pose a question, or if you disagree with the host on an issue, we'll talk to you that. But we're really not looking to just have an open discussion. It's not an open mic. We don't just want you to come on and talk about a situation. We're really looking for you to question, disagree, or present something to the host. So, because I just went through like screening four calls that all were like people just being like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And like, that's just not what the show is for. So, yeah.
No, that's totally fine. That's totally fine. We've got one call on the line and one call on the queue currently being set up right now. So we got a little bit of time, and then are we doing super chats after this? Owen, are you into that?
Yeah, I'm down.
Right on. We'll do super chats at the end. So get your super chats in if you want to keep us here all goddamn night. We're going to talk to Drew in the meantime, though. Drew's calling in from mitigating anteaters, says, oh, never mind. Drew just dropped.
Oh my God.
So we're not going to talk to Drew anymore.
Oh, that's a shame.
We're going to wait for the call, who is currently in the queue, and see if they move up.
He came back. He came back. Let me put him through.
Hey.
I'm gonna drop him right in.
There we go. Drew, you're on the line. You say that the Harris campaign is in trouble. What are you talking about, man?
I've been looking at the I'm sorry, I can't say the word. These polls lately in the swing states, and I definitely see some trouble. And I think that we can say that the bump that Harris has gotten earlier on is fading away. And I don't know. I know it's hindsight 2020, and you may disagree, but I think Biden should have not only stepped out from the campaign, but also let Harris take reins in the presidential Oval Office.
I don't think so.
Yeah,
for a couple of reasons. And
Good.
you go ahead first.
Okay. I don't think that, I think it would look really, really bad if Biden stepped down as president. It would end very badly for the Democrats. In fact, I didn't think that it was a good idea for him to step out of the race in the first place. It did turn out well, but there's an incumbent advantage there that may or may not have passed to Kamala Harris. It seems that it has, but I'm not really watching, or let me rephrase. I'm not paying close attention to the polls at this moment because, polls go up and down and they're not really fully trustworthy. Aggregates are good, but you just got to get out there and vote ultimately. That's all there is to it, right?
Yeah, for me, like the big thing is if he were hypothetically to just step down and allow Kamala Harris to become president in that moment, two negative impacts are going to happen. Number one, she would be the first Black female president, the first female president, period. This would be a very big historical moment for a lot of marginalized people. And having that be something that is passed on rather than something won through an election would suck for those communities probably, but definitely, absolutely be a talking point for Republicans and racists and all these people out here who are going to say, see, she's such a DEI hire, they had to hand her the job. She couldn't have just earned it, all this stuff. It would have been a major talking point against her to be in that position. And also, there would have been a lot of people out there who said it's a bait and switch, that it was always her goal to run and that she's sneaky and subversive and she got on this ticket with Biden so that she could be supplanting him later on and claiming power not through a legitimate mean. So it would have been a bunch of bullshit that would have led to a bunch of conspiracy theories and a bunch of racist asshole talking points against her. So I think it's much, much, much better to have her do what she's doing now, which is earning this presidency. So that's what I would do. That's my whole thing about it. As far as like the campaign getting in trouble with the polls and everything like that, the thing that I am not concerned with is the fact that young people don't participate in those polls. Young people don't like or trust those types of things a lot. And we got a lot of Gen Z that are now able to vote, that are going to be stepping up and showing up. And so I don't trust those polls very much myself. I think the proof is in the pudding, and the pudding is the worst thing to call the next president of the United States, no matter who wins. So that's where I'm at with it. Is I'm just waiting to see what happens, and I trust young people to stand up and make this country what it should be.
I definitely concede that you both are right in terms of the negative impacts if Harris were to become president. My mindset is that I have this feeling that a lot of Americans presumed that when Harris became the nominee, that it wouldn't just be a change of immediate impact on their lives as Harris would be taking kind of control. Now, I know that's ridiculous, but I'm going off of that. Anyone who's kind of wavering between Trump and Kamala operate on these kind of emotional factors. And to that end, I feel that Harris has a difficulty positioning herself as, well, she is different. And I think that is an advantage where if she were to make her position saying, like, I am not Biden, I support Biden, I think Biden's a man of integrity and he has values, but I have my own vision. Walls and I have our own vision for this country and for the world. And it's a fresh new one that's going to further, all these, and they can list their policies. And I think that way it might be more persuasive to people who are just maybe sick and tired of the same old same. And I feel like she's doing a lot to where she can't really say what she could have done or what she was responsible of and what she agrees or disagrees. with Biden. And we all know that, like any politician, like any person, even if they're in the same party, they have different views, they have different opinions, and this election may not necessarily change on that, but I think it's a good message at the very least that Harris would just say, I am my own person, and here are some fresh ideas. And I think that would excite young people, and it might also sway some people who were just sick of the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Harris could do to whip young people into a frenzy. And the fact that she's not doing that sucks. But a lot of what you're talking about, I feel like she's already doing. And so, like, I don't know, man. I think a lot of people in the chat are pointing out that she has said exactly what you're saying she wished she said. So, like, check that out, man.
I mean,
you know,
fair enough. I mean, I listened to her interviews and I listened to the debates, and I know a lot of people will refrain, and it's not completely fair, but just because she says something, I don't necessarily agree that it's been effectively reached to the voters, as many people would deride Harris as running a campaign as I'm not Trump, when maybe that is not the best strategy. I know she's not solely doing that, but at a certain point, I think that I look at the things she's saying now, like, marijuana, decriminalization and other sort of things. I believe that putting forth ideas and putting forth policies will eventually help her get over the finish line than to continue the same tactic and then becomes like a broken record. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Well, I mean,
go ahead, Owen. I got nothing for that.
Yeah.
A little bit
there are, something that I realized is that my intuitions with what I thought the president should do, I oftentimes turn out to be wrong. My personal intuitions, like, I thought that if Bernie Sanders just came out and spoke plainly and stopped speaking like a politician or whatever, then it would, he would win in a landslide. But I came to find that, like, a lot of older people really respect the professional politician kind of sheen over top of people. I find that it's really hard to predict how elections are going to turn out or what this person should do or shouldn't do or whatever. So I just kind of put it in their hands and hope for the best. And I know that there's a lot of, what's the term? A lot of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris right now. So I'm pretty optimistic about it. Because not only is there a lot of enthusiasm for Kamala Harris, but there's a lot of what you'd call anti-enthusiasm for Donald Trump, like a lot of vitriol or fear or whatever against Donald Trump. So I think we have a good shot.
And with that, I'm going to go ahead and...
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Oh, I was going to wrap up. If you have one more thing to say, I'll let you say it.
It may... I'm just going to have to... Can I give a message to the third-party voters about Gaza? Or if I know it's on platform time, if not, just let it go on. I know you have a show to run.
No, we'll see what the message is.
Yeah, go ahead. Lay it on us.
My message is that Trump and Harris are not the same. Jared Kushner and the people that Trump surrounds himself with are more likely to annex Gaza or let that happen and build a Trump hotel on the water, something that Jared Kushner said, than to support the peace. Trump deeply admires Benjamin Netanyahu. He sees him as an archetype of a leader he wants to be. And if you want to see anything about even if we had a ceasefire, who is more likely to provide any aid or support to the Palestinians to help rebuild anything? Trump, who doesn't want people from quote unquote shithole countries to come to the United States and doesn't really care about aid, or Harris, who at the very least might get a ceasefire and provide any sort of aid, any sort of rectification, and probably make sure that Israel doesn't start having settlers go into Gaza or occupy Gaza indefinitely, which has a greater chance. I just don't understand how people do not listen to the things Trump says about the Middle East, Palestinians, and basically what he really admires about Bibi. He's often said things about Bibi that show that he not only he stands lockstep with the kind of leader Bibi is.
Yeah, I think a lot of people oversimplify the issue and say, well, they're both pro-genocide. And it's like, there's degrees to how bad that can be, for sure. Anyway, with that, we're now going to move on. Drew, I appreciate you calling in and waiting for so long.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Take care.
You too.
Bye. All right. We've got a few more calls left here on the line. We're going to go for Jack, pronouns he, him, calling in from Canned Armadillos. Flavorless. Once asked, will Harris really be a safe space for LGBT people? Bit hard of hearing, so we got to speak up a little bit, it says here. Jack, you were on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing?
All right, how about you?
Doing really well. It says you're on computer headphones and everything. I want to make sure that we're coming in loud and clear for you before we get into talking. Is this okay?
Yep, I can hear you.
Perfect. All right. What makes you think that Harris wouldn't be a safe choice for LGBT people? What's going on?
Well, lately of all the media I've been following, so I've been following Brian Cohen, Midas Touch, Adam Mockler, Jack Correa, Cocchiarella, I think that's how you say his name. And I haven't really seen Harris mention anything about it really, and I know they had the Fox interview, and I just wanted to know, like, if there's anything aside from that.
If there's anything aside from what exactly?
If she mentions it anywhere, like if she talks about it at all.
So in 2004, Harris officiated some of the very first same-sex marriages in the country. So if she was against it, probably wouldn't have been doing those things. She helped repeal California's anti-gay marriage initiative. In the Biden administration, the Biden administration has protected LGBTQ medical patients from discrimination, has consistently stuck up for trans and intersex people and their individual rights. She has said that she will follow the law and make sure that people get the care that they need and the help they need if they're transitioning. Like that's, I don't know how more like. I don't know of a time off the top of my head when she's come out and been like, hurrah, gay people. But like, in terms of like comparing her record to Trump's record, I don't think there's any question as to who the actual safe option is.
Okay.
And anything from you, Owen? Do you have any additions you want to throw on there?
No, I think that you summed it up pretty well.
We're pretty much the Democratic Party is the place for LGBT people to be safe, protected, and out. The only time that's not even fair to say. Never mind. I was going to say something backhanded and shitty, but it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. Anyway, Jack, does that answer your question? Do you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I've pretty much voted from mail-in and just wanted extra information.
Yeah, no problem. Anybody who wants any information, by the way, if anybody out there, Jack, we're going to move on to the next call, but I really appreciate you. I'm going to keep talking as I hang up, though. Have a good day.
Yeah, no problem.
If anybody like has specific questions about like where these candidates stand on any particular issue, I always encourage people to go to guides.vote. So guides.vote. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up right here. Guides.vote is a great little place for you to go, and you can see side-by-sides of everybody. Here, I'm going to put it in the chat. Blurp. There it is. and it shows the president, vice president, Senate seats. It's got a bunch of people on here, and you literally just click on whoever you want to vote for, and it has next to each other the issues going down. So here's on Trump and Harris, abortion, climate change, criminal justice, economy, education, elections, environment, gun laws, healthcare, blah 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 blah, and it shows a very brief summary, a one paragraph of things they've said and stances they have and actions they've taken. And it has links, clickable links that'll take you to a source for all of those things. So,
but they're basically the same, the two parties you see.
They're basically the same. Exactly. Yeah. Like where it says here, the very first one on abortion, Harris said, every woman should have the right to make decisions about her own body. This fight is about freedom. And Trump said, after 50 years of failure, I was able to kill Roe v. Wade. It was a miracle. That's the same. The same. That's why I, as a libertarian, will vote for Trump.
Right.
Can't
even get that out without
I can't get over that. I can't get over that. We've got to save Elon. He's so persecuted, Owen. Elon Musk, he's just, oh man. He's so persecuted. He's got hundreds of billions of dollars. What a poor guy.
Biggest victim on planet Earth.
Biggest victim. Literally has lost more money than any human being in history has ever lost.
True.
And still the richest man on the planet. Amazing. We got 2 calls left. I'm going to save this one for the last one because it's different topic. We got instead for right now, Mike, pronouns he, him, calling in all the way from Toronto and Canada. Atheist, used to be a Christian, and is concerned that Donald Trump is fulfilling religious prophecy. The prophecies, Owen. Mike, you're on the line with Owen and Forrest. How you doing?
Hey, gentlemen. I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing good. What's going on with your phone right now? Am I on speaker, or are you just like eating the microphone? What's going on?
Okay, hang on. Let me do one thing. I changed the sound settings to. Is it too quiet or too loud, or what is it?
It was really loud. It's way better right now. Whatever you're doing right now is great.
Okay, I'll keep it like this then. Just to tell you guys, you two guys are my favorite atheist activists. We could throw Seth Andrews in there too, and we're all set. So this and Owen, I listen to your stuff all the time.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. I went to when I went to school, I took theology. I was very, very deeply faithful religious person, Seventh-day Adventist, and I went to
cousins
to be a pastor. Say again.
We're cousins. Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists, cousin religions. Yeah. They came from the same root.
The Millerites.
Yeah.
Yeah, they both came from the Millerites. That's right. Yep. Yeah. So we're cousins, Owen. And what happened was, okay, I'm going to tell you, I was studying eschatology when I was in school. It was 1991. That's 30-something years ago.
That's scary,
and learning that. And according to Seventh-day Adventist eschatology, which has always been around, near the end of the time, in America, there's going to be a gathering of Christians, false Christians, but they didn't use the word Christian nationalists because that term didn't exist at the time, but ones that are not really true Christians, but they're using it to and they will take control politically of the government. And according to SDA eschatology, what will happen after that is that Sunday law will be implemented. And if you look at Project 2025, a lot of people don't know this one because it's a little one, but you have to have X amount of Sunday worships per year. According to SDA eschatology, when that happens, rough times are going to come economically, like super rough times. And I don't know that anybody here on this forum is going to disagree that if Trump wins, we're going to have some seriously bad economic times. Then they will blame those that aren't following God's ways, such as SDAs who refuse to worship on Sundays. And they will be forbidden from buying and selling, which they say will be, by that time, a cashless society. Now, you throw into all of this the fact that the Sahara just flooded and the Euphrates is about to dry up. I got to tell you, man, I got cognitive dissonance on the opposite side.
Mhm.
You guys gotta rescue me.
Yeah, that makes sense. But here's the thing about prophecy. A lot of the time, it's just vague enough that nearly any situation can apply. How many times in even recent history, in the past, say, 500 years, has the, I don't know, the Sahara flooded? Or how many earthquakes have happened in the past 500 years? Like a ton. How many wars have we had? I think we've had like 263 years of peace in all of human history, or something like that. Don't quote me on that. You got to look it up. But these things that...
Yeah, go ahead.
Mhm.
Go ahead, sorry.
The thing is that, like, all of the stuff that's been prophesied, it's been coming for... this stuff's been happening for a long time. Additionally, the specific eschatology about Christian nationalists doing all this stuff, the term may not have existed exactly, but the people have existed since at least the 70s. Jerry Falwell Sr. led the way on kind of building out this gigantic infrastructure for Christian nationalism. It was on its way all the way back then.
I guess when it comes down to, so what you're saying, which sounds like it's what the way I should be thinking, is that this has been around all the time. The fact that this time around they may be implementing Sunday law is just a coincidence.
I mean, no, it's not a coincidence. These people have wanted to do these things for a long time. Like, these Christian nationalists have wanted to impose their will on people for 60, 70 years, honestly, since the beginning of history, since they've existed. Since the Crusades, they've been trying to do that. But it's been a part of U.S. culture for at least 60 years or so. So not a coincidence. It's a directed, intentional plan that they've been trying to enact, the Christian nationalists from, like, Jerry Falwell's wing.
Well, what I mean by a coincidence is that it's a coincidence that SDA Eschatology states Christian nationals will take over America, will spread around the world, and then they will prevent people from buying and selling that don't worship on Sundays. The fact that that could happen is the coincidence.
The buying and selling thing is from the Bible, from the book of Revelation, and it's a really old one, because, I think it was the book of Revelation, and that was written because Christians were afraid of persecution from Nero. It was actually happening in that moment. They were being persecuted by Nero. So that's why that came up. It makes sense that they would work in a lot of, prophetic stuff or whatever or apocalyptic talk from the book of Revelation as a religious movement. And so the thing is, like, all of these events are either being foretold by or enacted by people who are influenced by the Bible, which is where a lot of this stuff is, spoken about in the first place. So it's just part of the culture,
Yeah, it's I'll be honest, I've been an atheist now for maybe 20 years, and within that time, I'll tell you, I've never been happier, never felt more free. Like Seth Andrew says, and never felt more comfortable in my own skin. So to be dragged back into religion would be something I desperately don't want. With that said, I mean, they seem like radical coincidences. Unless he loses the election, hey, I hope Kamala will win.
I think that is the thing, though, is that, like, when the most famous one that I get all the time, whenever people talk about biblical prophecy and how this is the end times and everything, is wars and rumors of wars, especially around the Middle East. And I'm like, welcome to the last 200 goddamn years. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, it's, and so, like,
see what you go ahead.
It's always like, if you had thought about what you're talking about now 4 years ago, guarantee you would have had the same kind of things, just a little bit different. And maybe this one part of the prophecy wasn't in there, but this other part was. And now you add this other stuff that this part's in there, but the other part isn't. And like there's a lot of stuff that isn't in the fulfilled in the prophecies, and there's a lot of stuff that is fulfilled in the prophecies, and that's always, forever, always going to be the case. That's why they're fucking prophecies and not actual testable, reasonable predictions.
And by the way, one more thing. The people the people who wrote the Book of Revelation and Daniel and where these other apocalyptic things were written, they expected all this stuff to be fulfilled in their lifetime. They expected to see these things take place. And, the Christian congregation didn't see it happening, and they were dying off, and they started freaking out. And Paul wrote, don't worry about it. We will, when the people who died will come up out of their graves and meet Jesus halfway and escort him back to earth. So they'll have a special role. That's where the rapture came from. He was trying to quell the fears that people were not seeing these things happen in their lifetime. They were dying off first. So this is supposed to happen 2,000 years ago, a lot of it, some of it like 3,000 years ago. And here we are on the other end. And all this stuff has already happened like 16 times already,
Yeah, I know. But when you take into account what Forrest said, the rumors of wars and rumors of wars, right? The thing that people always skip over on that particular prophecy is it says that there'll be wars and rumors of wars and rumors of peace. And I don't know that any time in human history outside of the last, 50 years, could we be bragging about any possible peace in the world. So this all kind of freaks me out, man.
Yeah, Jehovah's Witnesses have that whole thing about peace also, where there's going to be a big war and then there's going to be, calls for world peace, so on and so forth. I don't know. It doesn't freak me out at all, truthfully. Like we said, we're cousin religion, so I know a lot of the same eschatology. I kind of grew up with a lot of the same stuff as you. And I don't know. I'm not seeing it. It doesn't really freak me out very much for some reason.
The whole Sunday law thing doesn't freak you out?
No, not really. It just doesn't really add up to me at all.
I don't have a religious background in this way, so it's not as meaningful for me to say this, but it doesn't bother me any more than any of the other prophecy things or any of the other ways that Christian nationalists are trying to fuck over our country. It's just all the same bucket of dumb, and I don't know. Nothing sticks out to me particularly about this more than anything else. But again, I don't have the background that you have. I think Owen is a much, much, much better person to handle this situation. Yeah. I'm very glad you were here for this one.
Yeah.
Hey, Forrest, can I ask you something a little personal?
Sure. Me? Sure.
Oh, yeah. Let me take my wildest guess. Hungarian from the Croatia region.
Which
one?
What
are you asking me? Is that where I'm from? Is that what you're asking me?
Is your ancestry Hungarian from the Croatia region?
I don't know.
Because I know a lot of Valkais in Croatia. No?
Oh, yeah. No, that's not where my name comes from. But I can say that like my actual ancestry is like the Carpathians. So my dad was Austrian, and my mom's whole side of the family were travelers around the Romania and Ukraine region. I don't know exactly where. The village that they came from no longer exists, or at least I can't find it on a map. But my grandpa wrote down before he died the village that he came from before he came here, and I can't find it anywhere. And they also all changed their names because, so actually the name is my own design. It is my legal name, but it is not my birth name. But like Forrest is my birth name, but my last name, my wife and I designed it before we got married. And then I changed my name to this legally, and then we got married. So that is actually our family name now. And I did that because for a few reasons. Number one was because I didn't pick it. I didn't pick my last name. The only reason I kept my first name is because people already knew me as that for 30 damn years. This one, Valkai, is an Anglicization of the Tamil word for life, is actually where we started with it, because I'm a biologist and I like life. And also, if life means anything, it means freedom and choice and the ability to choose your own destiny and make your own decisions and do what you want to do. And also, I thought it was fucking bullshit that she has to change her name when we get married to mine. Like I own her. That's stupid. We should both change our name to something new that's our new family, our new tribe, our new thing, that we have our new destiny together.
Or you could smoke a spliff and just let it go.
I could do whatever I want, but like at the end of the day, I got to sign my name on stuff. And at this point in my life, I have a new name that my love and I brought up together that actually we found
really
out
cool.
afterwards does actually come from the exact region of Eastern Europe that my actual ancestry is from. So it could be my real name and nobody would ever know. So that's pretty cool. It's just a lucky coincidence. But I have something that's special that my love and I came up with together. And also now I get to sign legal documents with that. And I have actually in my life, I have signed legal paperwork with my title as Internet Science Man, Forrest Valkai. That's me, bitch. Like, that's how cool is that? So
that's
yeah,
very cool.
I think everybody, at the end of the day, I'm playing this fucking video game. I get to customize my character. And so I made a cooler name that I like better, that means something to me, that means something to my family, that has some resonance. I could go on and on about the deeper meaning of it to us personally, but nobody wants to hear that shit. At the end of the day, it's something that stands for freedom and for life and for choice and for love. And it's way better than the name that I was born with that I didn't get to choose in the first place. And that everybody fucking mispronounced all the time anyway.
Well, I think that's very cool. I want to say to Owen, I watch your stuff all the time. I love your cats in the background because I'm a cat man myself. Me and my wife have 6.
Got one right now.
But I gotta tell you, man, there's one thing I gotta tell you. I watch you every day, and you're like this. Like, I'm 54 years old, so I'm a lot older than you. But I look at you and I think, look at this guy. Like, he's got his shit together. He's got a beautiful wife, a beautiful kid. He's living in New York City. He's got the kiddies going. I got to tell you, man, good for you.
I appreciate that. There's always something going on. Of course, everybody's got something going on. So it's not exactly perfect, but yeah, I'm happy with how things are now. I used to work at Burger King and could barely survive. And now I don't. Now I can survive talking to people. And this is really what I love doing. Like, I know a lot of people on the YouTube side who hate their job, who do it because they have to, because this is how they make money. That's not me. I love this job. I would be doing this if it were like, if I wasn't making a dime with it. So, yeah.
All right. I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take all that you guys said to heart. Gonna think about it. But I'll tell you, if Trump wins, you might be getting another phone call from me.
Okay.
Just a prophecies. Mike, I appreciate you calling in and talking to us. You've been really pleasant. Have an awesome rest of your day, dude.
You too, guys. Have a good one.
Bye. I see in the chat, somebody just said, I suspect you're about to get an influx of adopted family members into the Valkai family. You know what? I think everybody should change their name if they want to. Like, it's honestly, like I said, this is your game. Customize your character, dude. And like, I have a friend. I used to work at this science museum when I was in my very early 20s. And we had this lady there, and her last name was Freedom. And I thought that was the coolest fucking name. And I hung out with her and her husband, and she told me the story I just told you. She was like, yeah, we didn't pick our families, and we wouldn't have if we could have. And we were starting off on our own life and doing our own thing, and we wanted a new way. And so we changed our last name. And I was like, that's so cool. That's amazing. I wish I could do that. And she's like, do it. Pick Freedom. Make your name Freedom. And she's like, whatever that means to you. And I didn't think about that for a long time. But then as I was doing the paperwork to change my own, that story popped back up in my head, and I remembered her and her husband. They were so nice. That's exactly what we're doing. I'm changing my name to Life because that's what I fucking want to be. And I had a professor at the time, Dr. Iyer, whose native language was Tamil. And I was like, am I saying this right? And she's like, no, but it's good enough. And that is the right word. And you're never going to pronounce it right with your stupid white man tongue. But like, this is fine. And change the spelling and because it just do it the way you want to do it. And then, like I said, we found out that it happens to be a name around Hungary. There's several people named Valkai in Hungary. And I have a cousin who is a professor at the University of Debrecen in Hungary.
That's awesome.
It just works. I didn't fucking know that. It's just all connected. It's so cool. And so, like, yeah, my family's Carpathian. And you'd never know that wasn't my real name if you looked at my ancestor, my genetics. And like I said, my grandparents, when they came here, they changed their name anyway. My grandfather's name was Hreńo Wojciechowski, and he came here and he changed his name to Harry Meeker and became a chiropractor, and that was his job. And
actually a metal transition.
It's nutty. And at the time it was fashionable, to kind of cast off your heritage and become really Americanized, And so my family Americanized like crazy, and I was the first generation born here. I guess in the total side, because my dad immigrated over as well from Austria, and so just it's weird. I don't know what the fuck anything is. I just want to be this. That's cool. Sorry, I'll ramble about this for a while. It's deeply meaningful to me, and I don't talk about it publicly.
Yeah. No, you don't have to be sorry for that. It's really interesting. I am Native American partially, and I grew up with a lot of Native American lore and stories, and I had dream catchers and stuff, which is super against the rules for Jehovah's Witnesses, but my mom had them. So anyway, otherwise, I'm from Scotland. My dad was Scottish, so
nice. I live in Oklahoma, so I am surrounded by Native American symbolism and stories and language and culture and everything, because this is where we shoved everybody near the latter stages of the genocide. And I also work with, if you, Owen, are ever around the Oklahoma area for a summer and you want to do some cool stuff with paleontology, hit me up, because I work with an organization called Native Explorers, which is run by the Oklahoma State University's Office for the Advancement of American Indians in Science and Medicine, I think is the title of it.
That's cool.
And we take Native American people who are, especially in their undergrad or just out of high school or whatever like that, who are interested in science and medicine, and we take them out camping for a week. And we go dig up camel and horse fossils, and we visit a bunch of cultural and historical sites in Western Oklahoma, and we learn about Native American culture and also about science and medicine. It's because everybody there is a paleontologist or a biomedical scientist or something like that. And they have me, the whitest man you've ever met. I go with them and I teach about biology and about evolution and about fossils and stuff, just whenever I can do cool stuff. I just mentor with the program.
I love that.
That's my backpack that I carry with me. This is my American Indians and Medicine and Science backpack this is what I take to work.
What are the chances? That's pretty cool. Yeah, my tribe was from Connecticut, the Mohegan tribe, not to be confused with the Mohican tribe with a C. Mine is with a G.
Yeah.
Anyway, they oh God, I was going to say something about it now. Oh yeah, I was going to say we never went around looking for fossils, because I actually grew up in West Virginia. We moved from Connecticut, and I was in the Appalachian Mountains, and there aren't any fossils there, because the Appalachian Mountains are older than fossils, to my knowledge, older than life, I think. In fact, they continue in Ireland. The Appalachian Mountains do. You'll never find fossils in the Appalachian Mountains, to my knowledge.
The plate split after they form? That's nutty.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was Pangea when they formed, I believe. Yeah.
That is fucking cool. And I didn't know any of that. And that's really, really neat. That's so fucking neat, dude. That's so fucking cool. Yeah. I could go on and on with this conversation for a long time, and I would like to, but we can't. I've got to take the last call of the day, and I saved this one for last because I think it would be perfect for you and I, especially on this call, get to do something a little bit different. We've got Ali, pronouns he, him, Ali, I guess then. Ali, pronouns he, him, calling in from Orangutan Hyman, says he has an experience that proves the supernatural. I bet it doesn't. Let's hear it. Is it Ali? You're on the line with Forrest and Owen. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. How are you doing, guys? Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Before I start, I wanted to let you know I am actually an atheist, and I do love science and logic and scientific method, but I have had an experience which I am kind of unable to explain it, which kind of proves to me, at least personally to me, it proves that there is more to our body than just the matter. And I want you to be patient for me. I'm going to explain to you what has happened to me.
I'm going to tell you what you're stupid. Yeah, no, I'll be very patient and nice. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. If you have you ever had a dream, and then when you dream, after you wake up, you realize that you had a dream, and you don't know until you wake up? Have you ever had such an experience before? I'm sure.
You mean like when I wake
you
up
guys
and
have
I
had that, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
So
I
here
have
we
a
go.
very
Okay,
lucid
what-
dream and I can't tell that it's a dream kind of thing.
Yeah, and then when you wake up, you realize this was all a dream. So anyway, I was
Sure,
dreaming one night, and actually this experience happened to me twice, but I'm gonna explain to you the second time because I have thought about it, and I found a way to prove to myself that was actually out of my body. So here's what happened. I was dreaming that I was in the shower taking a shower, and then I went in front of the mirror and I couldn't see myself. So you see, a lot of people dream and they don't realize they're in the dream. But so when I couldn't see myself in the mirror, I asked myself, why am I not able to see myself? And since I love logic and science, I tried to come up with all kind of different theories in my dream why I'm not able to see myself, because, I kind of became conscious in my dream. So one of my theories in my dream was maybe I'm dreaming this. And it becomes very weird when you're in a dream and you realize yourself that you are in a dream. So then I said to myself, well, if this is a dream, either it's all happening in my head and I'm actually sleeping, or I'm actually out of my body and I'm in the bathroom taking a shower. So then I tried to move objects in the bathroom. I wasn't able to lift anything. I knew I'm there. I can see everything, but I couldn't see myself though in the mirror, which was kind of weird. So then there was a bottle of like Plavix, which is the medication my mother takes. It was on the shelf. I looked at the serial, like what do you call it, the barcode on it. The number on the barcode was 57908. So I saw that number, and then as soon as I saw that, something grabbed me from the back and it talked to me in English, not in Persian, because I speak Persian too, It says to me in English, you have known enough. And then something grabbed me and I saw myself flying over the air from the bathroom all the way to my body that was sleeping in the bedroom. And then I saw myself laying in the bedroom and I went into my body and I woke up. Now, here's what makes it so weird. When I woke up, I actually went back to the bathroom. I looked at that bottle and the numbers matched. So how can I possibly, get such a number? It's a 5-digit number. The odds of me being able to get such a number is very odd. And the reason I actually looked at it in my dream, because I had a similar dream about maybe a few years back. I had a similar experience, and at that time, I was looking at the clock, and the clock matched when I woke up. But I was telling that to my friends. My friends said, "Oh, that was just a coincidence. You just guessed the time, But this time, when I became conscious in my dream, I actually saw the number, and then it matched. So I'm kind of really confused about this whole thing. I mean, put yourself in my shoe. If you experience something like that, what would you think?
I would ask, what is the chance that you actually have read those numbers before and forgot or didn't think about it because they were just random numbers that didn't mean anything, and you just happened to have glanced at them and you read them and you just had that just somewhere in your brain, and then it came up and you didn't realize you knew that? Versus there's actually a magical super spirit world.
Yeah, I asked the same thing myself, but the thing is, that's not even my own medication. That's my mother's medication, which was on the shelf, And
Have you ever touched
that
that bottle? Have you ever touched that bottle?
Yes, I have. Picked it up and gave it to my mother many times before.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, is there a chance that at some point in your life, whenever you've held that bottle for any random reason, you might have looked down at it and saw some numbers on it and didn't even realize you were looking at it because it's so trivial and unimportant and you didn't think about it at all, and then skip forward to today?
I understand. I give you that. That's a possibility, but to me, I'm just saying that because that was an experience that happened to me. To me, it's like, normally we don't pay attention to such a number. You know what I mean? I actually, when I was trying to find a clue while I'm having this dream, whether I'm in my body or I'm not in my body. So that was the best thing I could come up with. And I'm still kind of wondering about it, but I can give you that is a possibility. But I don't know.
Right.
I
And so
believe
my
if you
question
explain something like that, you would probably think the same thing I do. You know?
I mean, who knows? But like the thing is the question that I have is that situation more or less likely than actually there's a magical supernatural world that's can control your dreams and that you can
see, I'm
sleepwalk.
at this point. Yeah, I understand what you say. For me, I mean, especially that I really love scientific method and logic and science, and since I experienced this, it's very difficult for me to buy the fact that maybe I saw that number accidentally, and because I consciously look for that number so that I have a clue when I wake up, you know, because this was the second time this happened to me. So I don't know. It's just I find it very difficult, and I cannot explain. I'm not saying that we have a soul, or I just know that I find the odds of it very, very difficult to believe any other way.
Do you think? What do you think the odds are that you would come up with that number randomly versus the odds that the military wouldn't weaponize the supernatural world if it existed? Like, they certainly would have weaponized it by now if it were reproducible, right?
Yeah,
and we've
I understand.
in the world, and we haven't seen anything.
I agree with all what you say, but it's just
what if you're actually
the second time this happens to me.
What if you sleepwalk?
Can you repeat that?
I said, what if you're sleepwalking? What if you actually did walk in there and in a half-lucid state looked at those numbers and then walked back to bed and didn't remember it? Like, I sleep talk a lot.
That's another possibility.
I will sit up in bed and have a full conversation with my wife that makes absolutely no fucking sense. And sometimes I will stand up out of bed and like really passionately explain things to her that's just gibberish, and then go back to bed and I don't remember a fucking word of it. And so like, shit happens, man. Like there's a lot of reasons that things like that happen.
Yeah, I understand. I always look for natural explanations because that's all we have really in this world. But the first time it happened to me, I saw the time. The second time, I tried to get more clues, and that's what I did. I don't know what else I need to do to prove it. I mean, but this is really weird because if you're ever in a dream and you consciously become aware that you are in a dream, it's very weird. Then you can explore your dream. I mean, I don't think it has, I mean, not everybody has this experience, you know. I kind of had this experience one time a few years back, and this was the second time. So, I don't know. I thought I'd just share it with you guys, but I wanted to see what your point of view is on that, but I guess you still go for the natural explanation.
Well, my point of view is just that, like, the most wild, over-the-top, insane, multinational, multi-billion-dollar government conspiracy solely for the purpose of fucking with you and gaining nothing else out of it is more realistic and more likely than magic.
Yeah.
And so, like, whenever you're talking about, like, if you don't have an explanation, that's fine. You don't have an explanation. Like, it's okay to just say, I don't have an explanation. But to then say, like, I don't have an explanation, therefore there must be some fucking demon that met me in my sleep and wouldn't let me read.
I'm not. I wouldn't say anything like that. Yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you is, if you had this experience yourself, just put yourself in my shoe. If you had this experience, what would you tell yourself to convince yourself this was like maybe you walking in the dream? You were.
I would say that was
walking.
I would say it's a crazy fucking dream. I wonder how that happened. And even if I had no explanation, I'd be like,
I know. I say to myself, it's a crazy fucking dream too, but it happened to me. So I don't know. I just wanted to share it with you because I'm still really confused about this whole thing. But I mean, as I said, I love science. I love scientific method. I play chess. You know, I really love science, but I cannot explain this to myself personally. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate you, Ali. Take care. Yeah, I think there's a lot of explanations. You just have to be willing to, accept the fact that you may never get an answer. You may never get a good answer, and you just have to live with that. And that just fucking sucks. Agreed. It was a fun one to end on. Anyway, this was a good show. I feel like we covered a lot of ground. I felt like it was a lot of me yelling.
Had some great
and a lot
calls,
of you being awesome.
I appreciate it.
let's see here. Let me go ahead and move this stuff around so I can see what we're doing here. Get my ugly face off of the thing. We're going to look at our super chats, and then we're going to proceed to wrap up the show. We've got, starting off, $4.99 from the Miker in Crusty Anus. Nice. Hard to vote for Harris when she doesn't extend an olive branch to Palestinians. I'll do it anyway. Say no to fascists. That's exactly, you know what? That's how I feel. When I was prepared to fucking choke down bile while voting for Biden because it's better than Trump. And now I'm going to have to sit here and just be like, gross when it comes to Harris. It would be really, really, really cool if she would listen to the majority of her voting base and call for an arms embargo or something. But
remains to be seen. She hasn't spoken too much on the subject, to my knowledge, anyway. But, okay, we got $5 from Sheridan Bernasconi. If you don't vote blue, there's something wrong with you, I guess. Heart. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you for the super chat and the poem.
$5 from Blackwater Ted. In a zombie apocalypse, what's the first store you'd go to? For me,
I would go to a pharmacy first.
Yeah, like I want to say Bass Pro Shop because they'd have a bunch of weird shit like survival things, but I feel like everybody else would think that, so I would actually want to avoid it. And I feel like going to a pharmacy or a drugstore where I can get first aid supplies would actually make me more useful in the long run. You know what I mean? Because like I can shoot a gun, I know how, but I would rather have that as a sidearm and be a medic in the war against the zombies. I'd be way better at that, you know?
Yep. This one, me?
Yeah, I think so.
$5 from Midwest Fungi Finds, I think. Book suggestion. They Thought They Were Free by Milton Meyer. Consists of interviews with German civilians after World War II and is sobering read. Wow, that's fascinating. Let me give you a couple of suggestions. For the Soul of the People by Victoria Barnett. I've been in contact with her. She's a super nice woman. Also, Doris L. Bergen's Twisted Cross. Great books, both of them. That's on the church and Hitler and stuff, yeah.
Right on. $4.99 from Carla J. Damn, Forrest, you're awesome. Well, thank you very much. Owen, I love your channels and your kitty.
Appreciate it. Yeah, she's something of a celebrity around here, so. Make New Pieces sent a $5 super sticker. High five.
Right on. I appreciate that. $5 from Limited Light. 400% increase in drone strikes as soon as Donald Trump entered office. I'm not surprised. I'll fact check it before I believe it, but I'm not surprised.
$5 from Limited Light. Steve Frack off. Absolutely, Frack off.
It was a gross call. It was a gross call, Steve. $5 from Zephorian Mantwinix. Don't know what it is. I wanted to give a shout out to Owen and get their opinion on the Electoral College, missing what they had to say, but ITO be rudely hung up on. I don't know what to say.
He's saying I hung up on him. He called in and was like, yeah, I just kind of want to like get their thoughts about the Electoral College. And I was like, well, that's not really the format for the show. One of the many callers who I had to do that to tonight. And then he gave me sass, and I was like, okay, bye. I was definitely rude to him because he started off with the sass, so no apologies from me.
That's unfortunate.
Well, I will give you my opinion, Iron Man 420, which is the actual pronunciation of the name.
Oh, duh. Yeah. Okay, all right, fine.
Electoral College is not democratic. I do understand the need for like a representative portion of a democracy, but yeah, I don't know. I'm actually torn on it. I'm going to say get rid of the Electoral College right now, but it's more nuanced than that. This one,
it can be Stockland Trades in the chat. Call in next time I'm on. Don't just put bullshit in the chat. Call in next time I'm on and talk to me about it. You can either go to the chat and you're gonna get muted because nobody in the chat wants to hear your bullshit, or you can call in and a platform of tens of thousands of people will hear what you have to say and you could change some minds. Call in, talk to me. We'll do it. Goodness.
Is that the person you were talking about earlier?
No, it's another person talking about how Jesus is the loving savior and we need to take him seriously and say, call in. I wish the person I was talking about earlier would call in. I would demand that Arden open another line if that person called in.
Right. All right, we got $10 from Mr. Baroqua. 10?
Boricua. He puts the pronunciation at the beginning.
Yes, okay, Boricua. Roll the R. Boricua. I'm trying. Forrest has released his feisty side. Good to see it. Keep these dishonest callers dancing. Steve, get the bent views of yours fixed. Your dishonesty is maddening.
It really does suck. It really does suck. It's just a small sacrifice. Just a little sacrifice. Right. We just got to elect a fascist to fucking ruin the place. Now it's just a small sacrifice. As if having Trump elected would make things better for third-party candidates in the future. That I can't get that out of my fucking head either. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, the end goal is to make it so that the Green Party is taken more seriously. A Trump-run country is a place where you think Jill Stein is going to be taken seriously. A foundationally anti-intellectual movement taking over the country is the way to get brilliant. $5 from Jonathan. This is for Owen's cat. You better give that cat $5.
Absolutely. She's sitting right here. She's got diabetes, though, so I can't give it in the form of treats. I'll give it in pets. How's that sound?
Money. Cash. Pay that cat.
Okay.
Hashtag pay the cat.
Okay. $5 from PT Colin. Forrest getting angry tickles my taint. I'll be voting blue in Wisconsin. There you go.
Thanks so much, PT Colin. $10 from Cedar and Sound Studios. Somewhere in some of those callers' brains, two blood cells are arguing who to vote for. Sadly, it's all been in vain. It's really good. It's really good.
We got $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. So far, my takeaway is that the Trump votes boil down to either A, bigotry, B, indifference, or C, a kind of insane irrationality that defies reason. Yeah, that sums it up.
$5 more from Monkey at Typewriter. Wanted in 12 states for child dissection. I'm on to you, Forrest. Should I say Eduardo Suave? You thought you lost me in Calcutta, fool? How could he have known? Real seriously, I was in the Galapagos over the summer, and they have ferries that go between the islands that you have to take, but they're really, like, the dock workers are police and military and people, and like they check everybody's names and everything like this. I just realized I might not want to tell this story. They
you don't have to.
There was one time when we were, it's fine. It's business there.
Okay.
You have to sign up to get on the ferry early, and they have like this registrar. They check you to make sure you're supposed to be on the right ferry and all these things. And there's this we bought a ticket to get on this ferry, but I bought the wrong damn ticket. I bought the ticket from the island we were trying to get to backwards, and so just we're fucked, right? And so I'm there, and I'm trying to get to trying to ask anybody around, like, can I get on this ferry? And there's this guy there who's selling, like, not like scalped tickets, but like unclaimed tickets, just reselling them. And so I had to pay a lot of money, and I got these tickets to this other boat. But like, this guy, we're speaking in Spanish the whole time. We're trying to get this right. And then finally he gives me the ticket, and he looks at me, and for the first time in English, he says, "Your name is Tommy. Your name is Tommy." And he looks at Amber, he goes, "Your name is Rachel." And so for a moment, we were Tommy and Rachel. And that's the only way we were able to get through the thing, by checking through the list. Is like, these were tickets that nobody was going to claim, but we had to have the right name to get out there. So as far as some random person knows, I'm Tommy, and I'm on the run from the random dock worker somewhere in Ecuador.
That's funny. All right, we got $5 from Paramount X. Universal income plus robots taking jobs. Yay or nay? I definitely am for robots taking over jobs. I think that's more likely. I want both. I think that, people kind of fearmonger about robots taking jobs a lot. If you look at the graph of horse-drawn carriage manufacturers and like car manufacturers, you can see a steep drop on the horse-drawn carriage manufacturers, but cars jumped up. There will always be a new job to take that place. It's just production or productivity will increase is all, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
The next one's from Iron Man again, but I'm not going to send it because he's complaining in chat. And I run this show, baby. Sit the fuck down.
Oh. Well, thank you for the money, Iron Man. I appreciate that.
I don't thank him. I'm considering Venmoing him $5 back just because I can't fucking stand him now.
Just to get rid of it? Gosh. The $5 from Blackwater Ted. What's something you want to be remembered for after you're gone? Just making things less shitty, dude. Making the world a little less shitty.
It's good. And I want to be known for informing people about things, just passing on knowledge, you know?
Yeah. And then I want to be forgotten because that's how progress happens. Nobody should try to hold on to me for too long.
There you go. All right, we got $5 from Todius. I'm sorry. Todius. Yeah. There we go. Forrest would ironically make a great con artist. He'd talk your ear off about how he's going to convince you, and you'd still fall for it. Fuck MAGA. Yeah.
You know, if I was evil, I would be a great preacher, for real. Like, if I was evil, I would be a mega church pastor. $5 from Monkey a Typewriter. Fellow anarchists and leftists, none of us are like this, but we're going to have to liberal up for the cycle. We live to tear down the system for another day. Great show, guys. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I think I'm the one being the side. Like, if somebody calls me a liberal, I'm like, how dare you? You know what I mean? Not that. But, like, at the end of the day, like, it is about harm reduction, and it's about moving forward. And I think any anarchist and leftist that isn't, like, up their own ass about it, that isn't doing these things just to be different and all the, you know, is super individualistic, like, would understand the difference between, like, the kind of, like, productive revolutionary stance you could be taking and just trying to move the needle in the right direction. You know what I mean? And oftentimes it's the people who are more concerned with the theory and more concerned with taking this strong moral stance, and I'm going to fight that are then willing to let real people get hurt because they're up on this moral high horse. You've lost the moral high ground if you're letting people get hurt so that someday down the line, you can be the guy who's going to change things to save them. You're not helping anybody. I don't know. That bugs me.
Is this one me?
I think so.
$5 from Skeptoidius. Polls are a horrible way to gather any sort of reliable data pertaining to a group, as they only represent a very small percentage of a population. That's true. They have good methodology for some polls, and you know, you can look at the methodology for them. So I do trust some polls, but all polls should be taken with a grain of salt, I figure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, honestly, how many times have they been just flatly fucking wrong, and we learned a month after the election, you know, or the leading up to the election. $10 from Storm Chaser Noah. Glad to see you've evaded the FBI another day. They'll never catch Tommy Valkai. They'll never take me down. Yeah, I realize I'm like, maybe I shouldn't tell this because maybe, but like, no, this guy is selling the tickets there in front at the dock. Like, I'm sure I'm fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Who's gonna chase him down anyway? All right, we got $5 from Melatonin Ale. I listen to Owen and The Line while I work, play video games, and clean. So happy to see these worlds collide. Yes, thank you so much for watching. That's awesome.
$4.99 from Carla J. Owen, so glad to have you on the line. You got to play something from your soundboard, please. I didn't know you had a soundboard.
I do. I got a bunch of good stuff here.
Get one of those.
Yeah.
That's great. $10 from Monoxide. I didn't know. This is yours. Sorry. You go ahead.
Oh, is it? I don't know. I wasn't sure. Okay. $10 from Monoxide. Monoxide, Mike seemed to imply that Project 2025 has required worship in it. Is this true? I've yet to hear this part of the horrible playbook. I mean, it's got 900 pages or something, right? It wouldn't surprise me, but no, I haven't heard it either. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I there's definitely a lot of stuff about there and like favoring religion or favoring the Christian religion. I know it outlaws pornography and all sorts of other things because it's ungodly and all this stuff. So like, I wouldn't be overwhelmingly surprised if it included some sort of like mandatory religiosity or at least religious practice. But like, as far as like requiring Christian worship, I don't know about that. I think that's a bit of a stretch, even for that crazy shit. $5 from Blackwater Ted. She said she's into bad guys, 100%. One time I tore the tag off a mattress and didn't buy it. Thug life. I don't know, man. I don't know.
On the edge.
Guys, we're already on the run.
All right, it's $4.99 from Irina Phoenix. Love both y'all's videos. Thanks for hosting. Trying to be hopeful about November. Thinking about Succession a lot. Also, hi, Arden.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hopeful about it too, for the record.
I don't know what Succession is a show, right?
I don't know.
I think so.
Never heard of it.
I don't know. $10 from Carissa Grimm. Two bacteria walk into a bar and start pouring themselves pints. The bartender tells them that customers aren't allowed on the side of the bar. The bacteria say, "We're not customers, we're staff."
Hilarious.
That's really good. That's really good.
All right, we got $5.
Why did the police officer go to work early?
Why?
He wanted to beat the crowd.
Okay, that's good. I like that. I've got a whole joke book, and I read these jokes on yeah. Some of them are funny. Some of them are just terrible. Anyway, $5 from Mahalia or Malia, maybe. Laga. Jesus is, yeah, that's it. Jesus is less moral than a tapeworm. What is your favorite parasite, gentlemen?
Don't get me started.
Well, you got to have a favorite parasite
because I have several. I got a bunch.
Lay one down for me.
Okay, so my favorite. Are we talking like cute factor, horror factor? Like, where are we going with this? You talk okay. It's cute. Giardia lambilla all day long. Okay. They're adorable. They look like little stingrays with little big old goofy silly eyes. They're cute. Talk about like the tapeworms. You're talking about Jesus being less immoral than a tapeworm. Yeah. Did you know that sometimes tapeworms can migrate, visceral larval migrans? They can penetrate through your gut wall, get into your circulatory system, set up shop in other places that aren't your gut. And when they do that, they know they're not in the right place. They're not getting the nutrients they need, so they insist. When a parasite insists, it's not like they're insisting like you do something. They become a cyst phase of the parasitic life cycle, which is a separate, non-necessary phase, which is just like storage where they can live for a long time. So like a lot of parasitic cysts, like Giardia, for example, Giardia insist and they can completely dehydrate without dying. And then when they rehydrate, they come back out and become little dudes again. So when tapeworms insist, they form what's called a hydatid cyst, which is this orb of tapeworm and water, which is protecting them from the environment. Well, they basically hibernate. They become dormant in there and they continue to live. And they can sometimes they grow in this way. If you want to be horrified, look up hydatid cysts on YouTube. I'll pull up a video right now and put it in the chat for anybody who wants to see it. They get in your brain, and you can have this orb of worms living in your brain, and they just float it out. It's not attached to anything. They just pump water under it, and it eventually just bloop, floats out, and you just have this perfectly spherical hole in your brain from where the worms lived. Hydatid cyst.
Is that one what in your head, or?
I don't know. I don't know what he had. All right, so I'm gonna warn you. Let's see if this is the right one that I'm thinking about. They get it here. Okay, yeah. So this video is completely soundless, except right at the very end when they get the cyst out, they put in like a applause track, and so that can be very loud and jarring and frightening. But like, check this out. This is an actual human brain surgery, and you'll see in this they remove the skull cap. They've done a craniotomy and they've opened the skull. Then they cut through the arachnoid mater, which is left. The dura mater came off with the skull. You've got three cranial meninges, three wrapping papers around your brain. The thickest outer layer is called the dura mater. Then you've got the arachnoid mater, and then the pia mater beneath it. So they open up the arachnoid mater. That's the vascular sac. You see them cutting open. Then they've got this really thin, very vascular sac beneath that. That's the pia mater that they're opening up. And then they open that, and you have this perfectly white, snowy sphere. That's the hydatid cyst. Them's be the worm. and then they just start pumping water, decanting water underneath that, and then it just floats out, and you've got this fucking round hole in your brain, and that's
Jesus
hydatid cyst
Christ.
removal, and that is called the Dowling technique. Revolutionary medical science on how to remove worms from your brain. So check that out if you want to check that out. So there's two really cool parasites. Giardia, adorable. Tapeworms, scarier than you think.
Well, yeah, and I guess I'll go with that one that burrows in your eyes, not because it's cool or anything, but because it is a good piece of evidence that this is not a perfect creation, and God did not make this world for us or whatever, right?
Yeah. You're talking about Loa Loa?
Probably. I don't have any idea. Maybe.
There's a couple of them that burrow in the eye. The Loa Loa is very common. It's called the African eye worm. It is also on my favorite parasite lists. And here is actually a YouTube video that I made a little while ago ranking my favorite parasites. I made this almost exactly a year ago for Halloween last year. Here you go. There's my parasite tier list. Everybody can check that out if you want to learn about why ticks aren't that are really interesting and they do cool things. And also flare. I don't remember. There's a name for another worm that lives in your eyeballs. It's significantly scarier than Loa Loa, in my opinion.
Okay.
$5 from Empress Lizard. Thanks for the show. Today's my dog's birthday. Happy birthday, dog. Celebrating by throwing money at y'all. Here's 3, by the way. That's awesome.
Yes. All right. For $5 from Lex the Lion. Wondering about calling in for some points my folks had for Trump. I don't know if I can play devil's advocate in order to get an informal discussion on it. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think we hear a lot of devil's advocate stuff.
Yeah. Check it out. If we have free time and you want to call in and like test out some arguments, that's cool. But like, I think the comment section on one of these videos, you'd be able to get a lot more varied responses than just from us. $5 from Emery King. Next weekend I'll be at SciCon, but I'll miss your talk, Forrest. Aw. I'll catch Neil on Friday night though, so that's cool. And Saturday lineup looks cool. Yeah, I'm only going to be there for the day of my talk, so I'm going to try to catch as much as I can while I'm there. But yeah, if you guys are in the Las Vegas area next week, come see me at SciCon. I'll be talking about how to teach evolution to a creationist, and I'll be drawing from like my reactivity and stuff like that, and just talking about like what methods I have learned that are somewhat useful.
Very cool. All right, we got $5 from Chris Chandler. Oh, hey, Chris Chan, yeah. If you're the person that I think you are, then he's somebody from my audience, so welcome. If people stopped believing that involuntary authority / hierarchy is legitimate and doing their bidding, much of the world's ills would be reduced. Yeah, I agree 100%.
No gods, no masters. $5 from Ron Lowther for Tommy. Use for your hiding. Thank you so much. I need it. I'm on the run from the Ecuadorian dock workers and also from the FBI, according to that one dude who still has not called in, by the way.
Blowing your cover.
Dude talking that big shit in the comment section.
I know. It would be awesome if he called in. That'd be super interesting.
I get about 10 people a week that swear they can take me in a debate, swear that they can prove God to me, swear that they can prove evolution real. I'm like, call the fuck in. And we never get them. And then this one was just particularly funny to me because this dude is like, it's wild. Like the conspiracy theory this guy has about me. I wanted to talk to him so bad, and I'm genuinely disappointed.
Yeah. All right, we got $5 from Monkey at Typewriter. But what's your least favorite parasite? Mine is Elon Musk. Also, once Jesus said, let they without sin cast the first stone, a rock hit him. Mom.
Nice.
Yeah, Elon Musk is a parasite. Donald Trump is also a parasite on society, in my opinion, and they're both pretty bad.
Literally all babies.
There you go.
Owen, can we clarify for the chat, because they're going so stupid about this, that Chris Chan is not the meme person, the lol cow person?
That's correct. Yes. No, I'm not talking about the same person.
Okay, thank you. Because chat immediately was like, Chris Chan, what? I'm like, this. Obviously not Chris Chan. If you've seen anything from that person.
Yeah, no, different person. There's somebody who's been in my audience for a long time. goes by that anyway.
It's like that. There's a Hearthstone player. Amber and I used to be really into competitive Hearthstone, and there's a Hearthstone player whose name is Trump. That's like his handle, and has been for like almost a decade, like a long time, way before Trump was anywhere on the political spectrum or anything like that. And then he was like, I just have to live with this now. This is my handle, like 4 years before this guy ran for anything. Mahalia sent another $5, worth every penny. Happy spooky season. Thank you. It is the most wonderful time of the year. I try to keep the magic of Halloween alive in my heart all year round, and now is no exception. I'll show you for Halloween times this possum skull. That's a thing. Oh, we got another thing. Jeffrey Phillips sent $5. If third party is a wasted vote, why can't we apply that to non-battleground states like Tennessee? I'm voting for Harris, by the way. What?
So is he saying, I think he's saying that, like, if you live in California, why can't you vote third party? And I mean, I guess
this. Yeah,
I guess you can, but
all the time.
You know what's more important than the general election? Like, local elections are extremely important, for one thing.
Yep.
And for another, the time to, I don't know, protest vote or whatever would be in the primaries, not in the general.
You're in an incredibly privileged position if you're talking about you can afford to throw your vote away like this.
Yes, absolutely. And finally, oh my God, it just slipped my mind. Well, anyway, yeah, it's just important to go in and vote either way. Oh yeah, and you need to lobby to change the laws and the regulations around it so we get rid of first past the post. That's the solution. It's not voting third party.
That's a big thing. That's a big thing.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's gone. I think it is you.
Tree Thinking 666. I love modern medicine, but I ultimately despise it. Keeps older people with bad ideas alive longer to pass on bad ideas.
I'm going to be an old person someday. How dare you?
Yeah, me too. I hope.
Didelphis virginianus is the species name for this. Didelphis means two wombs because they're the only marsupial, one of the only marsupials in North America. They're the only marsupial in North America. And so double womb because they're that. And also Didelphis is also, I think it's actually called Didelphia. Some anatomical females are born with two uteruses, and that is called uterine didelphia. And you can have that as a condition in humans as well. You can be a possum person, except not really. Happy spooky.
That is metal as fuck.
Speaking of uteruses, I've got a uterus right here next to her. Look, I got a little uterus right next to the thing. This is a new thing. Giant Microbe sent me some giant organs, and I specifically asked them to send me a uterus, and check it out. The ovaries are magnetic and attached to dangles because they're not actually really attached. They're just kind of hovering here. They're attached by ligaments. You've got a ligament that holds them in place. But then the end of your uterine tubes here have little fingers, little fimbrillae that hold on to that. Isn't that cute? So great. I'll put it up there with a possum. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls and non-binary pals, it's been a show, and you fucking watched it. So who's really at fault? Thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much to all of our callers, except for the ones that sucked. And thank you to our mods, and thank you to our call screeners, and thank you to our producers, and thank you to the people in the chat, and thank you to Owen Morgan for spending an evening with me and goofing about. Owen, where should people find you, and what should they know about you?
Owen Morgan. Just check out my my YouTube channel, my website, owenmorgan.com. Super simple. Yeah, that's where you find me.
Easy squeezy. Thank you, everybody, for being here. See you later tonight.